Upstairs neighbours left their dog on the balcony for close to 24 hours. Hi, my upstairs neighbours shut their dog on their balcony pretty frequently. She barks or cries for a couple hours and it's annoying, but no big deal. Until yesterday. They are literally not home. It's been about 20 hours or so and their sweet dog has been crying and barking every half hour for nearly the entire time. I slept maybe 2 hours between barking and crying fits, so forgive me if this doesn't make a ton of sense. I already banged on their door, threw rocks at their window. Nothing. No lights came on, so I'm pretty sure they're not there. Unfortunately, don't know what they drive, so technically they could be dead inside the unit. I have called 1. The apartment complex emergency line around 3 a.m. when she was still crying, hung up on me twice before I could say one word. 2. The apartment office who came and knocked and called them with no answer. They basically said they're either at work or something bad happened to them. 3. Animal control who pretty much said the same thing, plus they would leave a notice and they could take legal action if they received no call back from the owners. I've, probably not safely, scaled the side of the balcony and pushed water and food to the dog, which she quickly eats and drinks. I've also thrown some chew toys up there and a Kong ball. I taped a mirror to a broom so I could see, and she had a bed up there, but that's it. It's going on 20 hours nearly of her, just non-stop crying, and it's heartbreaking. I've met her before and she's so sweet. At this point, I'm pretty sure something happened to the owners, because they seem to love her and don't strike me as abandon her on the porch. She's a German Shepherd, so I can't exactly strap her to my back like a Yorkie while climbing the railing. My husband has already gotten ticked at me for climbing on it at all because it's dangerous, but it's killing me. Anyone got any ideas? Our balcony is second floor, theirs is third. Dog probably weighs 40 to 60 pounds, is friendly with me. Edit 1. I found out what they drive. I haven't seen it in a few days. Apartment complex hosed the pee off our porch, but that's about all they could do. Apartment complex and animal control left notes on the door. I used these to get the full name of the person, and she's not at the local hospitals or jails. Sucks, but I think I'm going to have to wait until animal control can do anything, and just keep trying to give her food and water. Edit 2. A welfare check won't work because they aren't home, and cops won't open the door unless they have a reason to believe someone needs help inside, unfortunately. Although I may call back and see if I can get more sympathetic dispatcher if animal control doesn't do anything by tomorrow, as it's going to get hot then. Edit 3. Y'all, I'm so mad. Somebody mentioned I should have other neighbours talk to the police with me, so I knocked on the door of the person next to me. They told me that a dog walker came to their door yesterday or the day before, looking for their unit. So these people are definitely out of town, and either the dog walker never found the unit, or the dog walker shut the dog out and never came back. I figured if the dog walker was from an agency, my neighbours would have left them a key. Sure enough, there is a key under the mat. When my partner gets home, I'm busting that dog out. Unbelievable. Edit 4. More edits I'm mad about. Front office got in touch. She, the owner of the dog, said, I am aware of the situation and will have someone come by. The frick? Imagine being aware of this and just not hiring another dog walker. Okay. They can't pass my information to her. I'm getting dangerously close to jailbreaking her out. Edit 5. Positive edit because it doesn't look like anything is going to get done today. I've decided not to commit a felony, for now. I'm continuing to give her water, food, toys, treats, etc. under the rail. She's still crying a lot and I'm taking that as a good thing because it means she has enough energy, aka enough food, for now. Animal control has essentially promised to come get her tomorrow. The apartment said they will pressure wash the pee as much as I want. I'm just going to wait until she's gone at this point. The barking and crying is killing me, so I'm probably going to go to sleep at my mum's. My husband's plan is 5 mg of melatonin, lol. Genuine thank you to everyone with someone encouraging to say. It has really and truly helped me, if not just emotionally. Edit 6. Hopefully last edit. It's such a long story and I'll make up a follow-up post and put a link here, but again I'm so tired. For everyone tuning in until I post the whole story, the dog is inside with water and food. I also walked her for a bit and have not heard her cry or bark through the ceiling. Also, there were no cameras inside and I have access if I need it. Hope everyone can rest easy for now. Gee, good on OP for being so caring towards this animal that's not hers. And shame on the owners for disregarding the animal just the same. I feel sorry for that dog. Anyway, let's jump to the update. Part 1. First and foremost, thank you to all the people who provided encouragement and sane advice. You all made me feel like I could make a difference in the world, and that was really nice. Special shout out to anyone who told me to not break in. I was definitely sleep deprived and ticked off. Rightfully so, but still. And I think I came here hoping the response would be a riot, telling me to break in. I really can't avoid jail time financially, mentally, emotionally, or physically, lol. So I needed to hear, wait it out, keep supplying food and water. Part 2. Secondly, here is what happened yesterday on paper. Before animal control closed, this is Monday night, I called and made sure this was at the top of their list for tomorrow. I was getting the runaround from my apartment manager, and they were the only ones who could really order the police to go in. This is what the local dispatch told me. The animal control department told me something different, so they agreed to call the police directly and handle it first thing the next morning. My neighbour did tell the apartment complex someone is coming, so I decided that if no one came by dark again, I was going to do it myself. I planted myself outside their door. To be clear, at this point, the dog has gone 24 hours with no care, no food or water other than what I provided, and no potty breaks. Evidence is the gallon of pee on my patio. Someone did show up. I'll call her Monica. I introduce myself, tell her I live below, and ask if she's the dog walker. She says no and starts to cry. More detail on that in the next part. This part is for facts. She is not the dog walker. The neighbour had asked her to let the dog out on Sunday and Monday night, to which she told them she could not. Again, more detail below, but ultimately she cancelled her plans and came out of guilt because she knew this neighbour had likely not arranged anything else. I kindly let her know that I was going to come in and make sure the dog had water, food, used the bathroom outside, and would not leave until I saw her lock the dog inside the house. That was done. By the end, she put the key somewhere accessible and said, "You didn't see this, but you're also seeing this, right?" and went on her way. She told me the neighbours said they would be home that night. Again, Monday. It is currently Tuesday at 9 a.m. and they are not home. Animal control just opened and I'm giving them a call. Part 3. Thirdly, here is the damn tea from yesterday. I introduce myself kindly and ask if this person who showed up is the dog walker and how long the owners have been gone and if this was the only time they asked her to come by. Monica is not the dog walker. Monica is the neighbour's family member's ex-fiancée. She cried and told me the following. Neighbour's family member was her fiancé, convinced her to move here, became abusive to her. She ended things with him a month ago, after which neighbour and the rest of the family blocked her, even knowing about the abuse. This does not surprise me, because I am an abusive family member, and anyone who made excuses for the abuse while it was happening continued after to blame the victim. Monica also tells me that the neighbour has plenty of friends and family in the area. Despite being new to the state, they actually spent a ton of time here and could ask really anyone. Instead of asking friends or apparently many family members, neighbour unblocks a family member's ex-fiancée and demands she do it, even though she lives 45 minutes away and would not even give her gas money. Monica says she told the neighbour no. Neighbour pushed. Monica acquiesced to letting the dog out once on Sunday night because of the info below. Apparently the neighbours are at a wedding only an hour away. Allegedly, they were planning on bringing the dog to the wedding, which was Sunday night. Mind you, it is Monday. But we're told last minute Friday that they could not. So they unblocked Monica on Friday to ask if she could watch the dog Sunday and Monday night. Remember, Monica says no. They push. Monica says okay, but just Sunday afternoon, until you figure something else out, blah blah blah. So these mother effers had a wedding Sunday night, left their dog on the porch Sunday at noon, asked someone to come by Sunday afternoon, and leave her on the porch. And that's all the care they arranged, knowing they would be gone till Tuesday. I'm like, okay, that's fricked up. But it's Monday, why are you here? Monica tells me that she knows these people, and she knows how they take care of their dog, and she knew even if she said no, that no one would come. Sure enough, she said Monday they asked her again to let the dog out, after she said no multiple times. She cancels her plans, drives 45 minutes, and lets the dang dog out. Y'all, I'm walking around their house and believe everything she said. It was so weird. They've been here for several weeks now and there was no dog bed, no toys. They have a German Shepherd, dude. I know people with GSDs, their houses are covered in squeaky toys and balls and lick mats. I'm a dog lover, so I recognise that there are people who don't know a lot about these dogs, but come on, they need stimulation and they need their people. These are working dogs. They get very attached to their owners and need a lot of exercise. There were 2 metal bowls on the floor inside and that was literally it. Monica says the neighbours are coming back tonight, so I'm like, okay, let me get all the stuff I put on the porch for the dog. I grab it and there's literally one rope toy up there, couches for the dog, but no water bottle even. I told Monica that was effed up. If they wanted the dog left on the porch, she needs access to water and something to do. I was shocked that she didn't tear up their outdoor furniture. Monica said she actually bought the rope toy for the dog Sunday because she felt bad it was probably bored. Again, Monica clearly not a dog person because she bought a tug-of-war toy for a dog left alone. Well, bless her, she was doing her best. But also, oh my god. Running out of characters, so the rest is below in the comments. I'll continue to reply to myself with updates. Part 3 continued. At this point I'm seething. She tells me the dog is so sweet, but she knows this is wrong and she just literally can't take care of it today, and left her grandmother's house to let the dog inside after seeing some texts from the neighbour. Keep in mind the key is under the mat. Like neighbour could have hired a dog walker or asked management to let the dog inside. I once left for a trip in December and forgot to drip my sinks. I called management 4 hours down the road when I remembered, and they had it done in 10. Like there's just genuinely no excuse. Their plan was to guilt trip this girl they knew had poor boundaries into tending to their dog, twice. There was some talk in the comments about how it was a good enough thing that the neighbour said she was aware and sending someone. However, this made it clear to me that she meant she was aware of the situation because it was intentional, and someone is coming really meant, I asked someone who said no, but I don't want animal control to take my dog, so yeah, someone's coming and I'll be home tonight. Comment update 2. Part 4. It's Tuesday, a little after 9 AM. I will update this hopefully soon after animal control gets here. I really am genuinely avoiding going into their apartment now because I know they're crappy humans. I'm extremely confident they would not view me as helping their dog out, but as coddling their dog and psycho, etc. They clearly don't give an F about this dog and are jerks who I think would press charges. Animal control just called me and let me know they have contacted the apartment property owner directly. They are waiting for a call back when they open here in about 10 minutes. They left a voicemail indicating how urgent it was and told me they fully intend to cite the owners and try to get into the apartment to care for the dog and take it into custody. I'm pretty familiar with the holding centre for animal control because they partner with the local shelter from which I've fostered a dog. It's an incredibly nice facility, pretty new and well staffed, so no one has to worry about the dog being miserable while detained or put down. Part 5. Alright, if you're still reading, you're nosy and you don't need TLDR, so I won't be doing any more myself, but this is what I got. The apartment complex fined my neighbour for the refundable pet deposit, which they will not be getting refunded, lol, as well as the non-refundable pet deposit, the pet fee, pet rent for the entire time they were there, and additional fee that is admin since they had to file complaints against them, lol. More fees for having to clean pee off my porch and the downstairs neighbour's porch. I couldn't tell you the exact dollar amount, but I have a dog and I know the pet-related fees and pet rent for the time they've been there is upwards of $600. The property owner decided not to evict them this time, but the entire office team are huge dog lovers, so they let me know that I should report as much as possible. Their plan is to make it very expensive for these people to live here if they continue to abuse the dog. Animal control told me they cited and fined them on 2 separate charges. While they could not tell me specifically what those charges were for privacy reasons, they told me that they did 2 things in order to make the next strike the last one. They encouraged me to call if I heard or saw anything else so they could enforce that as well. Police are useless as usual. Sorry if you like cops, I haven't had good experiences. I'm not a fan. I was not surprised at their general unhelpfulness, is that a word, lol, throughout this process. They would not do anything and gave me no further steps. One lady working for dispatch said next time to call in multiple noise complaints and have the neighbours do the same, and that might accomplish more, but that's about it. The dog is not here. I heard a rumour from another neighbour that allegedly she's staying with the owner's mum, who cares for the dog frequently and for extended periods of time, like for several months while they were moving. She lives in a house, so I think she'll be a bit more comfortable there. I bet the dog gets passed on to whoever wants to care for her. If the dog turns up back here though, I'm stealing it, and that's that. I wish I knew more details. It's a small building, so I'm sure the mill will spit out more info soon, but that's all for now. I'm not a super optimist, but I will say, yo, this dog was so well behaved, crying before using the bathroom and not tearing up the furniture. Not afraid of people and pretty confident, gentle when playing with toys, etc. If the neighbour's mum has mostly raised this puppy, I truly think she may be a better person because it's really well behaved. GSD owners know that's not an easy feat, so I hope that helps some of y'all sleep easy. Wow, alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. A bit of a different one, but I think it's good to hear stories like that every once in a while. Kind of rekindles your faith in humanity, I guess, that people are still out there with this sort of compassion for animals still. But also on the flip side, that there are people that, own pets that really shouldn't be doing so. Either way, a pretty good ending, and we'll move on to our next story. Okay, our next one was posted on the relationship subreddit. It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Girlfriend wants her little sister to move in with us. I don't want that." I, 28 male, and my girlfriend, 26 female, of 3 years, have been planning on moving in with each other in a little under 2 months. She told her landlord she won't be renewing, and they already found a new tenant to sign a lease to. We've been looking at apartments and have a few we are heavily considering. Well, recently, her little sister, 17, has been having issues with her stepdad. To my knowledge, no abuse. They just don't get along and fight a lot, and has asked to stay with us for the rest of the year of high school. My girlfriend has always been a little motherly towards her sister because of the significant age gap, and wants to let her stay with us. I, however, don't want us moving in together to also include her sister. I really don't want to live with a 17-year-old in general, but especially not as I'd acclimate to living with a partner for the first time. There's also the money issue. We've been looking at 2 beds since we both work from home pretty often, and we're going to have one room be the office and guest room. I make more than twice as much as my girlfriend, so I was willing to pay a bigger share of the rent to be fair, and I'd probably use the room as an office a little over half the time to make it fair for me. But if she'd stay with us, I wouldn't have an office, or would need a 3-bed, which would be even more expensive. I could technically afford to spend more, but I don't want to. She cannot spend more than what she's already committing to. Her parents are pretty poor, so getting support from them feels unlikely. This is causing a lot of conflict because now I'm wanting to either just renew my lease and wait another year, or tell her sister sorry. My girlfriend says I'm not being supportive and abandoning her family. It's causing a huge conflict, and I don't know what to do. That's a tricky one, but I think Opie's well within his rights to just say no. Let's look at the comments. This is a bad idea. Having her sister there will add strain on your relationship. What's to say you two start to face the same issues as her stepdad? You want your first place together to just be the 2 of you, learning how to live with each other. I would stay where you are. If your girlfriend wants to get a place with her sister, then she can. Just say no. Tell her you'd love to be with her, but if she needs to be roommates with little sister, then you want to be part of it, and that you two need to put off moving in together until little sister finds a home separate from her. This post also reminds me of a much more frequent type of post I see on Reddit. The ones where a friend or relative on a temporary stay never leaves. Would your girlfriend actually kick her out if the sister won't leave after the end of school year? I don't think so either. Yeah, that's a good point actually. If the sister gets comfortable, then it'll be hard to get her out of there. And yeah, moving in with your girlfriend for the first time is a big step, and it's hard enough by itself, let alone with another person to worry about. Let's go to an update. I got a lot of DMs asking for an update, so here goes. I made this post Tuesday, and that night I met with my now ex-girlfriend and laid out why I was not comfortable with living with her sister. She tried to change my mind, first in a debate style, then I told her it wasn't something I was going to change my mind about. It is a hard deal breaker, and if she can't accept it, I'll not be moving in with her. She then started getting more confrontational, which is when I told her I don't think our relationship can proceed. Immediately, she got regretful and told me to not be so drastic. I told her I needed some space and went home. Wednesday, I asked for more space again, and then last night we met up, and I officially broke up with her. I don't want to talk badly about her, but I realized we just weren't as aligned as I thought we were, and the way she disregarded my opinion and comfort felt extremely disrespectful. She called me a bunch of times after I left last night, and I blocked her number this morning. I'm going to keep it blocked so I can get some peace for a while. Maybe in a few days I'll unblock and see if she can have a civil discussion for closure, if she wants that. But my mind is made up. Breakups suck and I know it'll take some time to get over her, but I'm looking forward to the next stage of my life. Oh wow, so there you go guys. I kind of didn't really expect that, but I guess it's for the best. I feel like Opie's on the right train of thought here. You really got to be sure about someone before you move in with them. Otherwise you're committing to something that's, inevitable to fail. And yeah, much better to realise that sooner rather than later. Friend is mad because my husband complimented her? A good friend of mine broke up with her boyfriend of 6 years after she discovered he was cheating. She has recently decided to get back into dating, but she wanted the first date to be a double date for her own comfort. Her date was completely on board, and they invited my husband and I. We met at a restaurant. My husband and I arrived first, and my friend showed soon after. Before her date arrived, my husband made a comment to her. "That dress looks elegant on you. The colour is unique." Here's the thing about my husband and his family. They give compliments. It's never sexual or over the top, but they all will occasionally give nice comments to people they know and trust, regardless of gender, and they do it sensibly in my opinion. And it's not always about appearances. It's one of the things that attracts me to him. The dinner went well, we thought. My friend's date seemed to hit it off with her, but the next day, my friend texted me this: "You need to tell your husband to stop making comments about other women. That's how affairs start." I told her I disagreed. She responded, "As someone who is cheated on, trust me, I know. I can't believe you are okay with your husband looking at my dress. I was ticked off for you." I told her that if she is uncomfortable with him complimenting her, then she can tell him herself, and that he'll respect her boundaries and wishes. She replied with, "Don't come crying to me when you catch him with another woman." I'm at a complete loss for how to approach this. Gee, sounds like Opie's friend's a little bit insecure, and fair enough if she's just been cheated on, but come on, that's a bit too much, don't you think? Anyway, let's look at the comments. I guess she didn't consider him complimenting her as a friend would be a nice boost to her confidence right before a major date. Shaking my head. It doesn't sound like she's ready to start dating. Yikes. Time to start gradually backing away from this woman before she accuses your husband of something horrendous. She has no trust for any man because one broke her heart. That being said, it does not give room for her to put her own insecurities on everyone else. Then be bitter when you stand firm in trust with your husband. A great response would be, "Not every man will be like your ex. If you think a compliment is open territory for cheating, I think you should get some help before dating again. It is clear you have trust issues, and if you don't heal a wound another person created, you'll bleed on others who had nothing to do with it." Yeah, I think that comment's spot on. Anyway, let's go to our first update. My husband now knows. Over breakfast I showed him the text messages. Initially he just said, "What the heck?" But then he reread them, and I think it got to him a little as his facial expression got more serious and attentive. Then he said, "That's disgusting. You'd know I never cheat or compliment someone to cheat, right?" I told him yes, of course. "Well, that's all that matters. Don't smell what she's stepping in. She can work on that in therapy." Thank you all again. Initially I wasn't going to tell him, but I'm glad I did. Your thoughts helped me to change my mind. I still am not going to respond to my friend, but if she reaches out for anything, then I'll tell her we need to resolve this first. Okay, let's go straight to the next update. First of all, thank you to so many of you who shared your thoughts and support on the post I made yesterday. I've been blown away by the show of kindness and interest from internet strangers. 3 things of note have transpired since the incident that occurred over the weekend. 1. This morning, after some of you kind souls changed my mind, I showed my husband the text messages while we were eating breakfast. At first glance he just said, "What the heck?" But then he reread it again and paused to think. He found it disgusting and agrees that I should not involve myself further, and that my friend probably needs therapy to overcome her hurt. His exact words, "Don't smell what she's stepping in, lol." 2. My husband called me on his lunch break and honestly sounded a little alert, like shaken up. When he opened Facebook today, he found a friend request from my friend. Now, neither of us want to jump to conclusions. He doesn't check Facebook often, and it doesn't say when she sent him the request. I want to assume it was before the double date. Regardless, he declined it. 3. Unfortunately, some of you were right, and my friend, Kay, involved someone else. A mutual friend, Jay, sent me screenshots. To my knowledge, this is the only person she's talked to. Kay said she felt like my husband was looking at her, and it was ick AF, and she asked Jay what to do. Jay pleaded with her not to do or say anything, and Kay agreed not to, but this conversation happened before she texted me, so she lied. I thanked Jay for letting me know, and sent the following message to Kay. Some of my wording was inspired by people who took the time to share their thoughts on the original post. Quote, "Hey, I've thought about what you said, and I'm very not okay with it. You said, when I find my husband with another woman, not if, which tells me you've already judged him as unfaithful over a completely innocent and well-intentioned compliment, which is normal for him. I've cherished your friendship, but I don't think I can be close with someone who thinks my life partner is unfaithful. I say this with love, but perhaps because you've been burned, and you have obviously been burned, now every light looks like a fire to you. My hope and prayer is that you heal from what's been broken. Maybe after some healing or some counselling we can talk, but for now, I think I need to create some distance because I'm feeling very hurt by your comments. Nothing but hope for the best for you." End quote. I concluded the text with a link to an article on projection. She hasn't responded, and I don't think she will, and I definitely don't have the emotional capacity to respond if she does. I'm just tired at this point. I don't want to talk to Jay about it because I don't want to be a wrench in their friendship with Kay. So I am once more just getting it off my chest here, though I feel a little guilty about sharing so much. Hopefully this is the last update. Sorry it was a novel. I'm going to go watch some shows until I feel something. Right now, I'm just numb. Man, this lady sends shady as. Sending her husband a friend request after the dinner? Yeah, that's pretty sus. On to the next update. I think I broke a sub-rule in the second update. I apologise to the mods if that's what happened, and I won't let it happen again. Either way, the post was taken down. I want to get this final update off my chest and finally move on from this entirely. Summary up to this point. Husband and I went on a double date with a friend who was cheated on and ended a 6-year relationship. My husband said her dress looked elegant and unique. It's very normal for him and his whole family to compliment people. Husband and I used a gift card to pay for most of the meal. Friend's date paid the rest. This becomes relevant later. The next day my friend texted me saying she was ticked for me because of what my husband said, and after I defended him she said, "Don't come crying to me when you catch him with another woman." After some lovely encouragement from this sub, I showed my husband the text yesterday morning. He was disgusted and seemed a little bothered, but was okay. Later at work he calls me and tells me the friend sent him a Facebook friend request. We don't know when she sent it though. He's uncomfortable and chooses to reject it. A mutual friend shared screenshots with me of our friend talking about the compliment. I text friend and tell her that I need some space after what she said, and after she's done some healing, perhaps we can talk again. At 12 last night, husband received money online from friend, same amount as the gift card was for. They've, hubby and friend, never sent money online before. She and I have. Confused why she sent it to him and not me. We also never asked to be reimbursed. He stated he feels like he's being set up, both by keeping the money or by sending it back, and is mulling over what to do. After some broken sleep, I texted her one last time saying, "Do not contact us anymore. Be well." I just wanted to get all of this out in one place, so hopefully we can all move the heck on. Mods, I apologise if any rules have been broken. Thank you for allowing me this cathartic space to release this. I feel hurt and torn and bludgeoned by the suddenness of all of this. Going from having a good friend to no longer trusting them in 3 to 4 days is a lot. I still empathise because she lost a trusting relationship with a significant other of 6 years and can only imagine the toll of it is what's causing this confusing behaviour. Regardless, we're done with it and I am spent. Alright, let's go to our next update. This one's titled, Husband Now Being Sexually Harassed. I am beyond myself. I turned to Reddit after what started out as a weird, confusing situation, and everyone was so helpful and supportive. I thought it was over. My husband came home from work a while ago with tears in his eyes. She frickin' sent him photos of herself in a skimpy outfit. She somehow got his phone number and sent him pictures from a number different from the one I have from her. Cleavage hanging out, hands on various different body parts. I saw the photos. Her face is out of frame, but she has the same build, and I swear I recognise the room in the photo as her bathroom. I frickin' know it's her. The timing is too coincidental to not be. Husband is on the porch talking to his dad on the phone, and I'm trying to make dinner, but I feel like I'm about to lose it. I feel so helpless for him. He's probably not even going to eat, so I don't even know why I'm making anything. Oh damn, that escalated quickly. Let's go to the comments. Also, be aware of apps that can fake text message exchanges. She may try something like that to make it seem like your hubby is texting her. She seems like a misery loves company type of person, and is just hell-bent on causing a rift between you and your husband. I agree with the others. Restraining order, blocking, and letting your friends know what's been going on. She's trying to tempt him into cheating. Also, look into the laws about sending essentially unsolicited pornographic images. You may have a way to legally stop this by going that route. I was a bit shocked to realise this is a continuation of the post I read days ago about the woman who got upset over your husband complimenting her and is now trying to seduce him. At this point it sounds like she's just trying to get your husband to cheat on you, in hopes of hurting you, and simultaneously to get back at you for not taking her stance on the compliment issue. She sounds like the definition of petty and vindictive. I've just been reading your story and wow, she's completely out of line. This woman needs help. Unfortunately, the police may not consider this serious enough to be called harassment and get a restraining order until she starts damaging property or assaulting one of you. Now for another update. I've said this before, but I actually think this might be the real final update. Because of that, I'll try to give some potential future insight as well. This sub has been so helpful and reassuring, and I truly feel like I've been able to get a lot off my chest. Also, if this is the first you're seeing, and for some reason you want to know more, just go through my post history. I don't think linking old posts is allowed. Also, I apologise if I've been making too many posts here. It's just easier for me to do updates separately. I get overwhelmed otherwise. First, thanks to many of you for sending positive thoughts for my husband. He doesn't do Reddit, but he does know I've been posting here about things, and he and I both appreciate your kindness. I'm a little more worried because he got sick at work this morning, but he claims breakfast just didn't sit well, and it's not stress. I think it's both, but he requested flamin' hot chicken for dinner, so I'll take that as a good sign, lol. Some may disagree with me on this, and that's okay. I understand. However, when my friend spoke to Kay's aunt a second time today, the aunt asked to speak with me, and I agreed. Aunt is amazing. She spoke with me and my father-in-law and actually asked if she could meet us at the police department. So, father-in-law and I met husband and the aunt at the PD. My husband and I were able to make a report regarding what has been going on. Aunt wanted to come with because she's tried multiple times to reach Kay today after hearing what's going on and hasn't heard from her. I will try not to give too much info here. She informed the PD that Kay had episodes when she was in her custody as a late teenager, and she frickin' brought the paperwork to prove it. She means business. We live in a city that has a mental health crisis team, so the PD, Aunt, and that team are doing a wellness check of sorts, and Aunt is really going to push for her to be evaluated at a hospital. The officer we spoke to said there's a chance they can do a psych hold, which I hope won't cause further trauma. A restraining order can't be granted for the time being, which my husband and I understand and many of you warned, but there is at least a report. Some have asked what comes next, should this be a mental or medical episode, and Kay recovers from it. First of all, I hope she does. My husband will absolutely continue to have no contact under any circumstance. A college professor of ours back in the day told me that you can forgive someone and still draw a firm boundary, and that is what I would intend to do. I don't want to deny her the opportunity to apologise if that's something that needs to be done for her healing, but we will not be friends in the future. We had our season. I hope with my whole heart this is the end of it. I feel a great sense of relief and hope for the best for her. My husband has a great support system in both of our families, and he is my focus now. Time for some homemade flamin' hot chicken. Sounds like things are in the right trajectory here. Let's go to the next update. OP provides a short recap. We'll pick up from the end of it. Anyway, I guess my ex-friend, we'll call her Kay, was recently released from the hospital. She called me this morning and asked if she and I could meet one-on-one to talk things over. I agreed, and we did that a short while ago. She was very apologetic. She described the episode as watching herself do despicable things without being able to stop herself. She admitted that, before she felt completely out of her own mind, she wanted to inflict harm because she was feeling so hurt herself that she wanted to get revenge on someone, but she says she does not remember specifically targeting me and my husband. I'm not sure how to feel about that. She's now under the care of a good mental health team and her aunt, who is so cool, and is getting back to being her normal self. She asked if she and I could still be friends. I told her that my loyalty is to my husband, and by hurting him, she hurt me. I told her I forgave her. I do not think ill of her, and I hope with my whole heart she finds continued health and happiness, but an ongoing friendship is a no. I shared with her some of what we went through, installing a camera, etc., and I feel a bit badly because I think she felt quite guilty because of it. but I felt it necessary for her to understand the boundary I'm maintaining. She wrote my husband an apology note, which she allowed me to read. He declined to read it himself and says he's forgiven her in his heart, but hearing from her would bring the anxiety and stress back up, which I totally get. I feel relieved that she is on the mend, and sad for closing the chapter on a friend. I also am worried that my husband is still impacted by what happened, so I'm trying to communicate with him often and keeping an eye on him. Hopefully time will continue to heal all parties involved. Through all of this, I learned again that my husband is trustworthy. He held nothing back, and he had multiple opportunities to cheat if he wanted to. As painful as this was, I can't help but appreciate him for being so faithful and trustworthy. I hope this novel encourages someone today. Now for Opie's next post. My husband and I were in a bad car accident last night. We were going on green and got T-boned. The driver who hit us then assaulted me by grabbing my hair when I went to check on him. Hubby had to pin him down until onlookers came to help keep the guy subdued. I've got some whiplash, but my husband needed stitches and has a concussion. We gave a brief statement to police. I don't know what to expect regarding insurance, charges or anything else. This is the first ever car accident for both of us. Geez, that came out of left field. Let's go to the next one. Hey all, this is actually OP's husband. I don't use Reddit, so I'm borrowing her account. A couple weeks ago, she shared our story about some harassment that started over a double date and something I said about a dress. She told me she'd gotten a lot of support from this sub, so while I'm home recovering from a concussion and bored out of my mind, allowed to slowly reintroduce screen time, I decided to look over the posts and comments. Wow, I'm moved seeing internet strangers taking their time to encourage and support my wife and me during that time. Hopefully this is appropriate for the sub, but I just wanted to say thanks to anyone who shared their thoughts and support, and for this space being able to be used as an outlet. Thanks all, means a lot. Alright folks, so we finally got to the end of that one. Wow, what an epic. Just seemed like so much drama just generated out of nothing, like a mere compliment. To be honest, to me, all parties sound pretty immature here. First of all, obviously the quote-unquote friend for suggesting that a compliment was denoting an affair or something. And secondly, honestly, Opie and her husband for getting so worked up over this non-issue. Like, yeah, I get the friend was saying lies and stuff to the other friends and sending the husband suggestive images, but honestly, at the end of the day, you control how much things affect you. And I can't help but feel like Opie and her husband built all this stress and drama out of something that was really pretty minor. I don't know, I'm probably wrong. I guess Opie's friendship could go way back and this was a really traumatic experience losing a friend of that kind of caliber, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments, and feel free to tell me if I'm way off. Alright, we'll jump to one last quick story to finish up today. This one was posted on the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was written by user Decor Dilemma, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my girlfriend her home decor is the reason I won't host a work gathering at her place? I, male 32, have been with my girlfriend, female 29, for over a year now. She's smart, funny, a bit quirky, and has a serious job with a good salary. We have a great time together, and generally get along very well. The only thing is her choice in home decor is bizarre, to put it frankly, and not something you think a normal grown adult would be into. Her apartment is definitely a reflection of herself and interests, not in the best way though. My girlfriend has a wall dedicated to animation in one room of her apartment, like Futurama pieces and etchings of some weird triangle guy. Then there's the wall of framed preserved insects in another room, but not insects like butterflies or moths. Instead she displays tarantulas, beetles, and large stick insects. Her bathroom has a subtle theme of the ocean, pretty common, but instead of starfish or shells, she has a little anglerfish nightlight, a small vampiric squid painting, and then a framed diagram of what apparently is a goblin shark right by the toilet. I would say a majority of her home decor and furnishings are okay. The apartment itself is very modern and sleek. It's just the random decor and juvenile-ish themes like cartoons, insects, and bizarre ocean creatures is off-putting. This is where I may be the a-hole. I avoid bringing people over to her place, especially people from my job, because of how juvenile it looks. Everyone's impressed when they see the high-rise, but that quickly fades once you enter. The one time I brought a work colleague over, they ended up telling me after that they found her insect wall terrifying. I work in finance and appearances and first impressions are important. My office will hold casual gatherings where we get together for a few drinks, good food, and we rotate hosts. And this time, it's my turn. The problem is my place is under some construction and not an ideal place to be right now, so I've been staying with my girlfriend. My girlfriend suggested that we host my colleagues here since she has the space and thinks it'll be fun. I told her I planned on skipping my rotation and seeing if the next person would be okay with hosting early. She kept pressing on why I didn't want them over here, so I finally said it's because her home decor is strange and not something a grown woman would have, and also that her insect wall horrified the one colleague that did come over. My girlfriend got mad and said at the end of the day, it's not my space and these things bring her joy. She also said that she is indeed an adult woman, which is exactly why her apartment is decorated in such a manner. I love my girlfriend, I do, and it's okay to have different interests, but does an adult really need to decorate with them besides a few things here and there? I mean, my own mother asked if my girlfriend was autistic after she saw the entire apartment for the first time. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend her home decor is the reason I won't host a work gathering at her place? Husband risked his life to save mine 2 years ago. How can I ever repay him? So this actually happened exactly 1 year, 11 months ago. My friends and family all know about this, but I just needed to get this off my chest, and I do need some advice on how to repay him, so to speak. So it was Friday date night. My husband and I were walking back to the car, 11 p.m, from an extremely crowded restaurant and bar. He realised he had left his expensive leather jacket at the restaurant, so he told me to just walk to the car and he'll catch up. So I did. Suddenly, a black car came speeding by, way past the speed limit, a drunk driver. I screamed since I thought the car would hit me. I landed with a thud, and right above my husband, who lay motionless on the asphalt. Once I realised what had happened, I shook my husband over and over again, to no avail. I screamed and cried hysterically, "Somebody help me!" And thankfully people came to help. One man gave me his phone to call the ambulance. Both mine and my husband's were dead from the impact. I just kept shaking and crying. I must have been a pain in the butt, while another woman just hugged and comforted me. The ambulance arrived quickly and took both of us to the hospital. The doctors told me he wasn't dead, but he's in a coma due to traumatic head injury. My heart sank when they told me this, and that week was the worst, most miserable week of my life. I couldn't eat, sleep, or think straight without feeling suicidal. Luckily, after a week, he woke up. The doctors called me in to see him, and told me he'd have some minor memory loss, but nothing to worry about. He is quite forgetful nowadays. I was speechless for a few seconds, and then I hugged him as tight as possible, while bawling into his chest. I wouldn't let him go, and I held him and cried, and told him how sorry I was for a good 40 minutes. He consoled me, and told me that none of this was my fault, but I still think it was. Frick, I love my husband so much. I really don't know how to repay him for literally saving my life. Whenever I think about it, I tear up. How could I ever make it up to him? I owe him my life. I've done a few things to try and be the best wife I can be. I cook him his favourite meals. I take him out on date nights, and insist on paying for his meals. I try to do as many chores as I can, unless he insists on doing them. I try to give him tons of affection. I give him hugs and kisses and I love yous, and I tell him he's my hero pretty much every day. In the bedroom, he's an extremely selfless lover, which I do want to change, since I want to be able to please him too. Too much information, but recently I've been putting him to sleep with a blowjob whenever he feels too tired to have sex, and I try to give them to him every day, multiple times a day if possible. We both work full-time jobs. His 33rd birthday was yesterday, so I made him a purely handmade card with a pop-up elephant when you open it. His favourite animal is elephants, and written on it were 33 reasons I love my husband, and I took him to the Griffith Observatory, his favourite place. But I don't know, I feel like I'm not doing enough for him. Like affection, intimacy, activities and date nights are a normal part of any marriage. I want to be a better wife for him. I know marriages are not transactional, but I still want to repay him for literally saving my life. Whenever I ask him, he laughs and says, "You don't have to repay me," but I want to. How can I ever repay him? Gee, sounds like Opie's already doing a lot to repay him. Let's see what the comments say. Bragging about your husband is awesome. I do it as well. The best repayment, in my opinion, is to live your life to the fullest. I say just live life normally. I mean, sure, give him extra perks here and there, but don't overwhelm him, lol. Unless he is enjoying it, I guess. Also, I would say get some therapy. While you probably don't think this is affecting you mentally, it probably is. Especially when you've been doing so much for your husband and still don't feel like it's enough. You don't want to burn yourself out. You also don't want this to manifest into something else other than intoxicating love for your partner. Side note, everything you're describing makes me think of the colour pink, and I'm so happy for you. But it also sounds so sickening, like when you see those completely overwhelmingly affectionate couple on the street. Well, I mean, this is in no negative light, it just makes me laugh a little. I'm glad you are both okay. As a husband, I would actually feel guilty if my wife kept trying to repay me for something like that. It's something he did because he loves you, and you not dying that night is the reward he wanted. I'm glad you two have such a wonderful relationship. Yeah, I feel like that comment's pretty spot on. Opie's husband did that because that was the only thing he thought he could do in that situation. Like, I'm sure he wasn't thinking in the moment that, oh, if I do this, then I'll get plenty of perks later on. Like, he just did what he had to do. And yeah, you'd feel a little bit guilty at some point, and you'd be asking yourself whether or not you deserve it, because, like, does something like that warrant a lifetime of perks? I don't know. Anyway, let's jump to the update. Thank you so much to everyone who replied. I read every response and the advice was much appreciated. You guys were right. There is some underlying trauma from the situation that we hadn't previously addressed, especially concerning my husband's 1-week coma, which had scared the living heck out of me. We visited a local therapist yesterday who helped us process the trauma and explain why I feel the need to repay him. I do have some form of survivor's guilt and feel as if my husband's coma was my fault. My husband reassured me that he doesn't have any trauma from the situation himself, since the coma just felt like a nap to him. As for the need to repay him, I still do give hubby some perks here and there, if you know what I mean. But overall, I'm in a much better place mentally and emotionally. I still do tear up a little when thinking about how close I was to losing him, or how he risked his life just for me. But I think that's a good thing. It gives me an incentive to improve myself every day and in every way possible, because my hubs deserves the best wife on the planet. Once again, I cannot thank you guys enough for your advice. It is much appreciated. And now for a couple more comments. I'm very happy for both of you. You both sound amazing and very lucky to have each other. Now this may be something that you already do, or heck, it may not even be necessary, but the best thing my wife did for me when I was in a coma for like 5 days, long story, was to fill in the gaps of what actually happened during and around that time. That's been like 5 years now, and it's fleeting for sure, but there are some times where I remember not remembering anything around that time, if that makes sense. It's supremely reassuring when she fills in that gap with facts about that time period. The facts aren't exactly pretty, but it sure sets my mind at ease more so than just not being able to recall. Opie replies, "Okay, I'll make sure to do this for him. Thank you so much for the advice." And now for the last section of this story, Opie's husband posts on the advice subreddit. Hi all, so this is my first Reddit account, and my beautiful wife encouraged me to post on Reddit, so I need to get this all off my chest. So basically, we were walking back home pretty late from a date night, and I forgot my leather jacket at the pretty crowded restaurant, so I told her to walk back to the car while I find the jacket, and a drunk driver came speeding by, almost hitting her, but I tackled her to the ground and out of harm's way. I don't know, it was pretty much just an instinctive reaction. After that, I don't remember a single thing, other than waking up at the hospital a week later. I'd apparently been in a coma for a whole week. When I met my wife, she literally clung onto me for a good 30 to 40 minutes and just bawled into my chest. She kept trying to apologise, but I didn't let her. And I don't know why, but ever since this incident, she's always been super shy and sweet with me, yet super clingy at the same time. She's always wanting to do whatever I'm doing, always asking for hugs and kisses, always asking me if I love her, if I think she's pretty enough, etc. And it seems as if she's always trying to please me in one way or another. I was rewatching the original Spider-Man series with her yesterday, and I'd honestly describe my wife like the character Ursula, the shy girl who is always making cookies and cake for Peter and has a huge secret crush on him. She's extremely shy and awkward and giggly with me, just like how Ursula was with Peter. It seems like her biggest fear is that she'll disappoint or annoy me or something. She's always wanting my validation in some way or another. She cooks and bakes for me, doesn't let me do that many chores, even when I insist. We both work full time. She always makes me my favourite foods and desserts, serves them to me, etc. I see her stare at me sometimes too, especially when we're watching TV, and she'll look away all embarrassed when I look at her. She tries to get into things too, just because I'm interested in them. I've lifted weights and done martial arts my whole life, and now she wants to learn and do both those activities with me. I'm not sure if she actually does or if she's just doing that because I'm interested in those things. Because before 2 years ago, she couldn't care less about these hobbies of mine. She was always interested in playing volleyball and softball with her girlfriends. I'm not saying I don't appreciate her doing this for me. I definitely do, and I love that woman to death, but it seems like she's doing too much for me, and it's affecting her mental health. She always thinks she's not pretty enough for me and that she's not a good enough wife, etc. She's always saying she owes me her life and always asking how she can make it up to me for saving her life. I always tell her she doesn't owe me anything and she should stop doing so much. It falls on deaf ears usually. Yesterday, in the middle of the night, I woke up to her quietly sobbing with her back turned towards me. I kissed and cuddled her and asked her what was wrong. She told me she had a terrible dream where I never woke up from the coma. I comforted and reassured her that I'm here and it's okay, but she still kept crying uncontrollably. In the morning, she was her normal, shy, awkward, giggly self, asked me what I wanted for breakfast, and is acting like nothing happened. I feel terrible for her. We've been going to a marriage counsellor together and it seems to be helping. She has a lot of trauma from the situation which she talks about during the sessions, but still she's never as relaxed or chill as she once was. She's always very tense, and like I said, doing everything to please me. Why is she like this? And how could I help her? Honestly, not the worst situation to be in here. Like if she feels fulfilled and happy giving you what you want, then let her do that. I understand to that extent it can seem a little bit selfish, but if she's happy and feels better doing so, then let her. But yeah, maybe encourage her to get out with her friends more often and do things that she's enjoyed in the past. You know, like the volleyball and softball with her girlfriends and stuff like that. I think things like this will kind of sort themselves out over time anyway. Either way, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments and we'll jump to our next story. Alright, we're staying on the same subreddit. This one was written by a throwaway account and it's titled, "My 19-year-old sister is getting married to her high school teacher." My younger sister is getting married to her 36-year-old high school teacher in a few days and everyone seems okay with it. She graduated a year ago and they told us they were dating, almost immediately after the graduation. I was shocked and angry, but everyone around me was happy and supportive of them. The teacher divorced his wife 2 years ago and started paying attention to my sister. He spoke to her after class regularly and paid special attention to her studies. I thought this was weird and talked to my sister about this, but she told me he was helping her because she was the best student of her class, which she was. A few months ago, only a few months into dating, they announced that they were engaged. I tried talking to my parents about their age difference and stuff, but they didn't want to hear it. I talked to my sister and she told me she is happy and that she loves him. We live in a small town with a tight-knit community and everyone else is supporting their marriage. I'm feeling useless right now and I'm angry at myself. I was unable to protect my sister. I feel like I failed my duties as an older sibling. I hate everyone around me. How do they not see what's going on here? Jesus Christ, what sort of community are you living in where people are fine with this? Let's look at the comments. My cousin did this. She was a sophomore in college and her professor divorced his wife and married her, and of course immediately impregnated her. 10 years or so later, he left her and married another student of about 20. As a side note, the guy looked just like Meatloaf. You can't forbid it, but you can voice your concern, which you've done. You haven't failed. You can't control people. You have to decide if you can support your sister's choices. Whether the relationship succeeds or fails, you can support her. In the UK, it's still an offence to do this. It's still grooming a child, even if they hide it until they're of age when it comes out. It's a massive breach of trust. Sounds like Buddy was grooming her so he could lock her down before she can go out into the world and learn who she wants to be and know what she wants from life. Now he gets to use his authoritarian position to make those choices for her. That's not cool. She'll never get to experience dating boys, making her own decision, renting her own first apartment. That's all gone now. Self-discovery is a huge part of our lives, and he's taking that all away from her so she can be taught like a dog on how to be his pet. Wife. Yeah, spot on. I don't think this is okay at all. And God knows how this is illegal. Like, surely there are alarm bells ringing everywhere for these people. I guess not. I don't know, man. I'm guessing this is America. Maybe like a really tight-knit evangelical Christian community kind of thing. Everything seems to be okay in those places. Anyway, let's jump to the update. The marriage happened. I contemplated not going to the ceremony, but I didn't want to hurt my little sister. so I went reluctantly. My blood was boiling throughout the whole thing. Everyone who came to the ceremony congratulated them. I couldn't even look the teacher in the face because I was so angry at him. I hated the whole thing. I'm leaving this town tomorrow. I had some interviews lined up and got selected in one. It's in a city and I'm moving tomorrow. I can't stand these people. My parents think that getting married to a good guy with a stable job is the best thing that could have happened to my sister, and my relatives agreed. He groomed her. Why doesn't anyone else see that? I wanted to scream at everyone. When I told my sis I was leaving, she cried. I reassured her and told her that I wasn't angry at her. I made it clear to her that she could contact me anytime, under any circumstances, and that I'd be there for her. I bought her a phone and told her that I'd talk to her regularly. I tried to not antagonize anyone because I want them to reach out to me if anything happens. It was very hard to do. I came very close to fighting several people. My sister was a star student. I always thought she would go to a big college and become someone significant. But now she's going to be a housewife. That thought is destroying me. I wasn't harsh on her because I'm hoping that she wakes up soon, and I want to be there for her when that happens. I want to support her and see her full potential, and I'm wishing it happens soon. Edit. I've told her not to have children until she's sure. She has a contraceptive implant, and I told her not to get it removed for at least a couple of years. I told her to tell me if anyone ever pressured her to have it removed. I really hope she follows my advice. Edit 2. I'm just checking the comments, and the amount of people defending the teacher is insane. People like you are the problem. She was groomed since she was 16. Why can't you people see that? I wouldn't have any problem with her choices if she wasn't coerced into them. Him being an older man isn't my issue here. Him being her teacher is. Also, I don't think that being a housewife is bad. What I don't like is that the choice of something more is being taken away from my sister. As for the phone thing, my parents did not allow my sister to own a phone. She had to use the landline if she wanted to talk to people. That's why I bought her a phone. This situation just gets weirder and weirder. Let's jump to the last update. I wanted to share an update on my sister's situation since it's been a year and the situation has changed significantly in a positive way. Since the marriage a year ago, I've made it a point to talk to my sister regularly on the phone that I gave her. A few weeks in, her husband started pushing her to be in a traditional wife role, which created a wedge between her and her friends, but I made sure to keep in touch and to visit her once every month. Her husband did not like that, but he tolerated it to keep up appearances. To deal with my frustrations, I joined a gym and started working out. Luckily, my boss at my job turned out to be a great lady who listened to me and gave me a lot of support and advice. She told me I could call her when I needed help, and became my mentor and an older sister I could lean on, while also paying me well. Some months into the marriage, her husband managed to domesticate her completely. She stopped going out almost entirely and had very little independence, and he tried to start separating my sister from me. However, because I kept a good and consistent relationship with her, he wasn't able to do it. A couple of months ago, he started hinting to my sister about wanting kids, but I kept repeating to my sister that she should not have children until a few years into the marriage. Last month, he told her directly that he wanted children, and my sister told him that she wanted to wait. He started pressuring her to get her contraceptive implant removed, so last week I went back home to talk to him. I always try to be polite to him whenever I visit their home, so that he doesn't have any ammo to try to separate us. During conversation, I brought up that he was pressuring my sister to get her contraceptive implant removed. It escalated into an argument, with him saying that he had a right to have children with his wife. When I didn't back down, he got frustrated and took a swing at me, which didn't connect properly. I didn't hesitate in punching him back in his face. He fell backwards and started howling in pain. I wanted to do that since this whole ordeal started, and it was satisfying. I think him hitting me was my sister's wake-up call. He called the cops and told them that I assaulted him. Fortunately, I made sure to record everything whenever I visit their home. I use my Apple Watch for this, and it's a great tool for stealthy audio recording. I called my boss and told her about what happened, and she promised to send a lawyer just in case. When the cops arrived, my sister took my side, which surprised her husband. With me being a woman, and with the recording, the cops also took my side. The lawyer arrived after that, and I told her husband that I was taking my sister with me. He tried to protest, but the lawyer warned him that I would press charges if he stopped my sister from leaving. He reluctantly let her go, and she has been staying with me for the last week. My parents were furious when they found out that my sister left her husband. They did not seem to care that he hit me, probably because I stopped talking to them. I'm still talking to my sister about what she wants to do, and will probably start divorce proceedings in a few days. Her husband and my parents have been trying to call and get her to come back, but I've made sure that she doesn't talk to them without me present. Throughout the whole thing, my boss has been super helpful and has been giving my sister advice about what she could do next. I know that I'm super lucky that my sister managed to wake up so soon, and that I've had support from people like my boss. Throughout the whole of last year, I was worried about how my sister was going to end up, but I am elated now. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. All in all, a pretty good ending, I think. And by good, I mean good outcome, not the dramatic kind of way it ended. Obviously, we could have done without people throwing hands at each other, but all in all, yeah, pretty good ending. And Opie's sister's still really young. She has her whole life ahead of her. Sounds like she was in a bit of a prison in that relationship. 15 years ago, my best friend got pregnant by my boyfriend of 3 years, and my family knew about it, but didn't tell me, so I ran from home. Now we are back in contact after 15 years, and my mum demands I mend my relationship with the ex-boyfriend and ex-best friend. Longest title ever. This is a long story that really started some 15 years ago. It really impacted my, 33 female, life, so please bear with me. When I was 18 and in my senior year of high school, I really believed my life was on a good track. I lived with my parents and 4 siblings, 23 male, 22 male, 20 female, and 14 female, and spent most of my days hanging out with my best friend Ashley, 18 female, and or my boyfriend of 3 years, Kyle, 20 male. Both Ashley's and Kyle's parents were best friends with my parents, so I knew both of them since we were in diapers. We spent holidays together, birthdays, and visited each other all the time as we lived in the same town. Ashley's been my friend for 18 years, and she truly was the person I trusted with everything. Sometimes our parents would joke that we are connected by the hip, as we were together all the time. I've been dating Kyle for the last 3 years. I believed he was the love of my life, and the one I would eventually marry. We were quite serious and even talked about getting married after he finished college. He was a sophomore at that point. Although I had every plan on going to university, I was quite content with the idea of being married to Kyle and being a stay-at-home mum. My parents loved Kyle and supported our relationship. I really was happy. I think I should note here that my sister, 20 female, was also dating Kyle's brother, 23 male, and that all our siblings were very close. One day, at the beginning of the school year, I noticed that Ashley was being very melancholic and detached. After a while of prodding, she told me she was pregnant. I was very surprised because I didn't know she and her boyfriend broke up a while ago, and I didn't know she had anything else like that in her life. I asked her who the father was, and she didn't want to talk about it, but in a way that implied that the ex was the father. She was absolutely distraught, so I dropped the topic and just consoled her. I was with her when she told her family, and while her parents were disappointed, they promised to support her in whatever she decides. They tried to make her share the dad's name, but she refused and made me promise to stay quiet. They did not know she had a boyfriend at one point. I was there for her for the next 9 months. I went with her for an ultrasound, doc's appointments. I was there for her when she was bullied in school for being pregnant. I helped her set up the nursery. I was there when she was sick or just felt down. I held a baby shower for her, went shopping with her. I even took some parenting classes with her. We chose names together, and she even asked me to be with her in the delivery room. I noticed that the pregnancy was really taking a toll on her emotionally and physically, and I tried to support her in every way possible. She was my best friend, always there for me, and I loved her. Some 2 weeks before her due date, I went to the mall to run some errands and ran into her ex. Although I promised never to contact her, the knowledge of my friend's emotional state sent me into a fit of anger, and I confronted him. I gave him a piece of my mind, told him what a piece of crap he was for leaving his ex pregnant and alone, and not caring for his unborn child. He was shocked, and said that he had no idea what I was talking about. Ashley never told him about the pregnancy, and when I told him she was 9 months pregnant at the time, he said that it was not possible for him to be the father, as they broke up over a year ago, and had no relations since then. I was confused, but apologized for yelling at him in the middle of the mall. After that, he became snarky, said some nasty stuff, and mentioned that maybe I should ask Ashley's friend Kyle if he is the daddy. I didn't really think about his words in any way. Kyle and Ashley have been friends their entire lives. We were always very close because of our parents' relationship, but they never showed any sign of being anything more. That evening, my younger sister, 14 female, and I were preparing to have a movie night. I began ranting to her about confronting Ashley's ex and his words. My sister, who is usually very outspoken, got quiet and didn't really respond to anything I said. After a while, she excused herself and went to the bathroom. I decided to go and get some snacks and went downstairs to the kitchen and heard my younger sister berating my mother. This part of my memory is really fuzzy, as I was dealing with lots of emotions. My sister told my mum about me running into Ashley's ex and his words, and told my mum she no longer wanted to hide from me the fact that Kyle was Ashley's baby's father. I was shocked, absolutely shocked. I stumbled into the kitchen and demanded an explanation. Both my mum and my sister became white as a sheet when they saw me, and my sister started crying her eyes out. My sister explained to me, some things I also learned from other people later, that apparently during the end of summer break, Kyle and Ashley attended the same house party, got drunk and slept together. Ashley got pregnant and told Kyle, but they were both ashamed and afraid of telling me. They also didn't share this with their parents. Ashley, however, couldn't keep the secret and told her mum and dad, who told Kyle's parents and later to mine as well. This all happened when Ashley was in her first trimester, but her second trimester, all of my siblings, Kyle's and Ashley's siblings, knew about this. Everyone except for me. I simply cannot explain the way I felt. I was physically ill for the next 3 days, and I couldn't speak to anyone. My parents were apologetic, but explained that they didn't want to see me hurt or ruin everyone's relationship. I did not speak with Kyle or Ashley, although they bombarded my phone with messages and calls, and also came to my house. I refused to see them. At one point, Kyle's mum came to our house, and my mum allowed her into my room. While I was lying in my bed, still ill and just emotionally drained from the betrayal, she tried to convince me to forgive them and how Ashley and the baby need me. I said nothing. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labour. I learned from my parents that she had a hard delivery. She lost a lot of blood and needed an emergency C-section. Kyle apparently was at the birth. I was distraught, inconsolable, because of the betrayal by both, because I planned to be there and now physically and emotionally couldn't, because I was looking forward to this moment for months. So many reasons. My older sister immediately went to the hospital to be with her boyfriend. My other siblings weren't at home, so I was left alone with my parents. All I wanted was to lay in my bed, or cuddle in my bed with Mum, and cry all my feelings out. My mum received a call from Ashley's mum. She came to my room and told me that she and Dad were going to the hospital. I was perplexed and asked her to stay with me. She said that Ashley's parents need all the support they can get, and that we'll discuss everything later. I tried to tell her not to go and that I also needed their support, but she said not to be selfish and they left. I was left alone at the house and just couldn't comprehend what happened in the last few weeks. I couldn't believe that my parents would go and support someone who hurt me so much, while I was also here suffering. Am I really selfish to think like that? I don't know when, but my sadness turned into rage, the kind I never experienced before, and in a fit of combined emotions and feelings of betrayal, I started packing my bags and decided to leave home. It didn't take a while, but I started having second thoughts and just sat in the living room feeling empty. After a while, I received a text from my sister. The text said that Ashley gave birth to a healthy girl and that they were both okay. She attached a pic of the newborn and they told me they named her Sarah, the name Ashley and I chose some months ago. She sent a second text a while later, telling me that my parents and she were going to join Ashley and Kyle's parents in going to a bar in the town to celebrate. I don't remember much after that. I think I was just consumed by everything, and my memory is very foggy. I left. I took a train and left. I stayed at a hostel in Phoenix for a while. I got a job at a store and planned to finish high school there. My parents, siblings, Kyle and Ashley tried to contact me. My mum was sending me a panicked voicemail demanding me to come back. They also reported me as a missing person, but I don't think it went anywhere as I was 18. Anyway, soon afterward I met Dean, 21 male. He also lived in Phoenix and had a complicated relationship with his family. We really connected and became friends soon. He helped me a lot at that time. I struggled. I had no idea how to take care of myself or how to literally be an adult. He introduced me to his group of friends, helped me finish high school. I moved in with him and his friends. He helped me deal with my pain. I really struggled at one point and also had some regrets. I wanted to see a therapist, but I most definitely couldn't afford it. He was there for me and supported me through everything, and I don't think I would have lasted long without him. We began dating after a year. He inherited some money from his grandpa and decided to move across the country to the big city. Although we weren't together for long, he asked me to go with him. I was a bit reluctant because we both had a lot of emotional baggage, and I was still very insecure in my situation, but I did go. We moved, got jobs, and tried to survive. Soon after my 21st birthday, we decided to get married. It was a crazy, spontaneous decision, but we did it. I enrolled in university and Dean helped me pay for it. He himself opened a company. That took off and we were able to live more comfortably. I was in uni and also worked a part-time job to contribute. We had our ups and downs, but somehow survived. After uni, I started working in his company and we slowly built it up. When I look back now, I don't think I was in love with Dean when we got married. I loved him, but I wasn't in love. But he was there for me, always, unconditionally, and today I don't think I could love him more. He is the love of my life. We've been married for 12 years now. We have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old son. Sometimes I regretted leaving my family behind, but I just couldn't go back. It was very painful. I felt like my parents chose Ashley and Kyle over me. I did go to a therapist when I was 25 and try to deal with my emotions. Last year, at the beginning of the pandemic, I received an email from a 14-year-old girl named Evelyn. She explained that she was my niece, my older sister and Kyle's brother's kid. She knew about me and wanted to meet me. Although I was reluctant to speak to her, we did exchange some emails. Let me note that she did not know what transpired 15 years ago, so the conversations were pretty innocent. We talked about her school, interests, and she talked about my family. I learned I had 10 nieces and nephews. I also learned that Kyle married Ashley 4 years after I left and had 2 sons besides Sarah. My parents continued to have a friendship with Kyle and Ashley's family, and to me, it really felt like my family continued their normal life, despite me being gone. She tried to talk to me about what happened, but I didn't really think it was my place to explain things to her, so I simply said that relationships change, and things happen in life that make us go our separate ways. We continued talking ever so often, for almost a year. In her email, this January, she expressed how the pandemic had a big effect on her entire family, and how my parents were struggling to keep their house, and both my brothers lost their jobs and struggled to keep up with the cost. I was surprised at her knowledge of this as she was only 14, but the hardship was also causing tensions between her parents. I started to deal with a lot of guilty feelings and regrets. I also just had my baby, so that was causing me lots of emotions. I talked to my husband and he was very supportive and told me that he would be there for me for whatever I decide. We are financially stable and the pandemic didn't have a great impact on our finances. We're not rich, but we are able to live comfortably. After learning some more details and talking with Dean, we decided to help my parents with their house. A week ago, we flew back to my home state. I saw my family for the first time in 15 years. I had so many emotions, regrets, pains from the past, feelings of betrayal. My parent was, I think, relieved to see me. It was just such a weird day. We had a lengthy conversation and agreed to try to have some sort of cordial relationship. It's been so long and I'm very awkward with them. Sometimes they feel like strangers. Dean and I spent a week there and we continued to have a conversation, and I truly believe that we were on a path to having a friendly yet distant relationship, but that my mum started insisting I have a sit-down conversation with Kyle and Ashley. She explained that she wants to go back to the way things were. I told her I refused to talk to them. Although I moved on, I simply have no ties with them now and don't want to rehash anything with them. I told her I am prepared to try and establish a relationship with them as they are my family, and I truly came to care for my niece, but that I don't want anything to do with Kyle, Ashley or their family. I never demanded them to cease their relationship with their friends, but I don't want one. Dean supports me. My mum called me selfish and said that I simply must try and heal our relationship. I told her I will not negotiate and that it's on her to decide whether or not she wants to have a relationship with me. She said, okay, but 2 days later I received a phone call from Kyle's mum. I did not give her my number, and she demanded, yes, demanded, I talk with Kyle and Ashley as my return caused tensions in their relationship and their emotional health. I hung up. I called my mum and confronted her. Apparently she gave that woman my number to heal our family bonds. I told her that she is choosing them over me again. She cried and yelled at me that I am selfish and that she wants her family back. I hung up. It's been days since I spoke to any of them, although my mum and Kyle's mum keep on calling. Although I think I'm right, and I believe I should prioritise my well-being and the well-being and happiness of my husband, who has been behind me 100% and even told my mum off, and my sons, I'm starting to have some regrets. I don't know if I should listen to my mum and speak to Ashley and Kyle. I question whether I was overreacting 15 years ago. I'm questioning whether I'm truly being selfish for not actively trying to repair the relationship. I would really appreciate any advice or opinion on what to do in this situation. Suddenly I'm questioning the entire course of my life. I'm so lost, and I don't know what to do. Bloody hell, there are a lot of angles to this. To be honest, I don't think Opie's entirely wrong with her wanting to not rehash a relationship with those people. Like, that's fair enough. The family, maybe. Like, maybe she's obligated to do so with the family and whatnot. But with the Ashley and Kyle, like the one that cheated on her and whatnot, like, I think that's fair enough that she doesn't have to rehash that relationship. And yeah, maybe like the decision to run away was rash and maybe we're not getting the whole story here. But yeah, I think it's fair enough that after how long has it been? 15 years? Like maybe they just let that one go. Anyway, let's see what the comments think. Your mother hasn't changed. Her priority is still her friends and their children. It certainly isn't you. She showed that at the time and she showed it again now. She doesn't respect you or your boundaries. She certainly feels no regret. Cut ties. Speak to your niece if you want, but no one else. Your mother will never change. You are the victim in all of this and they are too self-absorbed and selfish to see it. Your family is toxic. I've reread this post multiple times and honestly, just run. Your mother doesn't value you. They showed no regard for your emotional well-being or mental health. Only your younger sister showed a little. I mean, they even went to the hospital and then out to celebrate the baby's birth. It's like your pain was nothing. They've all betrayed you so very much. You deserve better. Keep your chin high and walk away. Yeah, hard to argue with that. I agree. Anyway, let's jump to the update. My gosh, it's been 2 years since I posted this. A lot of people have been asking me for an update. First of all, I want to thank all of the wonderful people who have been sending me updates and lovely messages. I'm truly grateful. A lot of things have happened in the last few years. Not all great. Without making these 100 pages long. I never mentioned my little sister in the original post. Her relationship with my parents went downhill after I left home, and she went no contact with them when she was 20. I received her number from our older sister, and although it was awkward at first, it's been 15 years after all, and we did start speaking again. She was very angry at me for leaving. A lot has happened in her life, and it wasn't the easiest. She has a toddler and a baby of her own, and I have to say that the kids have helped us bond again. She's my best friend, and we talk every day. As for my other siblings, I'm in regular contact with both my brothers, although we aren't close. My older sister and I have a good relationship now, but last year we've had a longer period of not speaking. As she is married to Kyle's brother, it was hard for her to deal with all our and their family drama. We're cool now, and I have a lovely relationship with my nieces and nephews. I didn't go to my niece's birthday party. It just seemed like it would be too hard for me. Now to my parents. This one is a little painful for me to write, and at the time it felt like I was reliving all those crappy emotions I had at 18. My mum didn't let up with her pestering over me not talking with Kyle and Ashley. Her calls for that continued for months, even after I was home again. It bordered on emotional blackmail. She blamed me for not honouring her wishes, for her friendship problems, and health problems, and even accused me of keeping her grandbabies from her. Last June, I had my daughter, and it seems like that sent her completely over the rail. What I mean by that, 100+ calls a day, messages every 20 minutes to pester me about random things, sending me updates about people I never want to know about. When she started pestering Dean, I was done. I was afraid to block her, so I spoke to my father. This was probably the first time in 17 years that we had a true heart-to-heart conversation. I was emotionally drained, tired from caring for the 3 children, and just over everything. I probably poured all my feelings and emotions onto him. I don't know what happened to them afterward. He doesn't speak much about it. Her calls slowly ceased, and something else must have happened because in August, he filed for a divorce. My father and I are in regular contact, although I don't think we'll ever be back to normal. Mum is devastated. In August, her calls became insane, and apparently not just with me. I've changed my number since then, and as of February, she has not been able to reach me. I've been told by one of my brothers that she has problems with anxiety and depression, and lost a lot of friends. I don't really know whether or not she continues to have a relationship with Kyle and Ashley's family. I don't want to have anything to do with her anymore, nor do I want her near my kids. The things she said to me, about my husband, whom she really doesn't know, and after 15 years of no contact is crazy. Although I regret not having a mum, I feel like trying and fighting to repair the little remnants of our relationship would be a waste of my emotional energy and just pure torture. As for Kyle and Ashley, I've received some calls from Kyle's mum, as I mentioned in my original post. I blocked her and no other calls have been received from anyone. I really don't know what they're doing or where they are. I have no contact with them. The only thing that really happened is that, in August, when crap went downhill, my brother-in-law, Kyle's brother, brought me a letter apparently written by Ashley. I've not opened it and I really don't know if I want to. I feel like I've moved on from them, but on the other hand, I'm curious as to what she has to say after so many years. However, that itself could bring back bad emotions. I'm doing okay now with my babies and Dean, who is a real trooper in all of this. I'm trying to focus on my family, and I really hope that this is all behind me. To all of you, thank you again. If anything else happens, I'll try to update sooner.
Am I the a-hole for not wanting my girlfriend's mother to move in with us? I, 23 male, and my girlfriend, 22 female, have been together for almost 6 years. We just moved into a house that I bought and own a month and a half ago. I'm a first-time homeowner, and this is my first time living on my own away from my parents. She's been living in an apartment for a few years prior to moving in here. We make enough to live comfortably. We bring home around 80k combined, and as a result I was able to buy a pretty big house for the 2 of us, nearly the size of my parents' home. I alone pay the mortgage and utilities, since it's my house. Girlfriend has been generous enough to buy groceries, subscriptions, etc. She also paid for some of the furniture we have when we moved in. The issue here came up about a week ago. Girlfriend's mum, A, isn't well off. She lived in a trailer with her boyfriend, and they broke up a few months ago, so she'd been living with her mum and mum's husband. A's mum died a couple of weeks ago from cancer, and now her mum's husband is kicking her out. She has the possibility of living with my girlfriend's sister and her boyfriend, who live with the boyfriend's parents, but A's been insistent on moving in with us. I'm firmly against this. It's my house. I'm very much enjoying living on my own, and honestly, I don't want anyone else here. It's not my fault that her mum hasn't done anything to improve her financial situation, and I shouldn't be forced to endure her consequences of her actions. The fact that, to my knowledge, she isn't even looking at apartments or other trailers in that area, or a job, just shows me that she intends to move in here and stay here. I can tell my girlfriend doesn't want that either, but wants to cave and ask me to allow it, though she's been avoiding the subject directly with me, given the uncomfortable situation she's understandably in. I love her to death, but she's a massive pushover when it comes to her mum. She had me driving to Walmart to get food and cigarettes for her mum when we started dating, because her mum was too lazy to. My girlfriend's sister has been saying I'm a jerk because we have a bigger house and can easily take her in. I told her outright, it's not my mum, it's not my problem, which caused her to throw a tantrum on the phone, and she accused me of trying to make her mum homeless. I've been feeling guilty, but I want to hold my ground. I don't want to enable her mum to sit around here all day drinking. So, am I the a-hole? Let's have a look at the comments. Not the a-hole. You are not married to your girlfriend. You also have to check if there are legal implications with lawyers having them in your house for the long term to protect your investment from being clawed. If your girlfriend's sister is so concerned, then she could take her own mum in. That's your house, not your girlfriend's. Tell it to her face. If her mum is homeless, it's on your girlfriend's sister. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend isn't paying any rent, just contributing towards daily living expenses. Maybe she can take the money she is saving in rent to help her mum get a place. Not the a-hole. Your house, your rules. You are totally right in fearing she's going to stay forever, and once she does, good luck finding a legal way to kick her out. OP gives more info in the comments. Someone takes issue with him calling it his house and not ours. Although I love her and fully intend to marry her soon, for the lack of better words here, I didn't want to be the idiot who put his girlfriend's name on the title only for us to break up for some reason and have to deal with resolving that. If or when we get married and I let her start contributing to the mortgage, she'll be put on the title. I can understand your argument, but I do want to communicate here that I've been working since I was 14 to get where I am now. I was able to put a ton down on the house to make my monthly payment pretty low compared to what I net per month. Her buying groceries and paying for Amazon Prime and Chewy for her dog is more of a gesture of goodwill, rather than a necessity. I could still afford to live by myself were she not in the picture. I never communicate to her about the house that way, but I do darn right think it, because I need to be prepared should we ever split. In my opinion, it is my house. Until she's on the title or mortgage, after we'd get married. I'm completely for equality in relationships, but she didn't bust her butt working until 11 PM every night as a farmhand at 14 years old. Lol. When I said that to her sister, I was fed up after going back and forth for 45 minutes on the phone with her about this. I just honestly wanted to shut her down and end the call. I do acknowledge I could have handled that much better than I did. On the bit about the sisters sharing the responsibility, this financial situation isn't unique to my future mother-in-law. As I mentioned, girlfriend's sister lives with her boyfriend in the boyfriend's parents' house. Girlfriend is the first one in their family to graduate college, and the only one in that family that has a job paying above minimum wage. This caused a lot of resentment from girlfriend's sister about my girlfriend. I don't see them cooperating on a solution here, but I will try to propose it. About being able to afford his house, Opie says, I've been working for nearly 10 years now. Was able to put nearly 40% down on the house. Mortgage payment is very low compared to putting 3% down like people apparently usually do. Someone asks where they can find a house that affordable. Opie replies, come to the great state of Philadelphia where you can get a house on 5 figures but can't buy liquor on Sunday. About the mum. Mother is in her late 40s and no disabilities that I'm aware of. She used to work in meat processing plant before COVID hit, but she quit because she didn't want to catch it and hasn't had a job since. Nothing has been brought up about her contributing to the house. It's essentially been her attempting to guilt my girlfriend into letting her move in. As to her position, she doesn't want her moving in either, but as I mentioned, she doesn't know how to tell her mother no, so she's been stalling her mum. I don't think it would be the end of the world to her if I just came in with a resounding no. This woman is in her late 40s, has no savings, has lived off SNAP benefits since my girlfriend can remember. She's done nothing to improve her financial situation, spends what money she does get on beer and cigarettes. I don't want to be living with her. I don't want my nice house ruined by cigarette smoke. I don't want to take care of a lazy 40-something-year-old that doesn't want to act like an adult and get a damn job. About the mum smoking. And she won't take it outside. Before all of this started, we would go visit at Anne's mum's house. I would have to immediately wash all of my clothing in their own load to get out the smell. And if it wasn't obvious, the cancer that killed her mum was lung cancer, currently taking my father as well. I'm really enjoying living in a smoke-free home. Okay, now on to the update. Hey folks, a few people messaged me about an update to the post I made a while ago on Am I the A-hole, so here it is. My girlfriend, now fiancé, and I are fine. We talked about it and agreed since it's my house, I would be the one to grow a pair and say no. Her mum came up to visit, probably to scout out the house she thought she'd be living in, and I laid it all out for her over dinner. After sitting down and having some small talk, I essentially said that under no circumstances would she be moving in with us, and that was that. She got pretty agitated, trying to guilt me with, what's the big deal? Where will I go? I'll be on the street if you don't let me move in. I started to reiterate that it's not my or our problem, but I remembered some of the suggestions that the commenters on the original post gave and suggested public housing, some local assistance programs like food pantries, etc. She still wasn't having it though. She's very entitled. She said it would be a lot easier, for her of course, these people only think of themselves, if we just let her move in. She didn't want to go through the hassle of applying for public housing. She doesn't want to have to go back to the food banks, stuff like that. We kind of went back and forth, talking over each other, and it escalated to the point that I kicked her out. I didn't lay any hands on her, but I took her plate of food and threw it out, and told her to get the hell out of my house. She left, after some yelling, and my new neighbours saw the whole show of her cursing me out and peeling out of my driveway, chewing up some of my yard during the process, so that was fun. When the yelling started, my girlfriend retreated to our bedroom, and after her mother left, I went back in to find her crying. After giving her some time and cleaning up dinner, I didn't so much throw her mum's plate out as I did launch it into the trash can, so it was everywhere. I went back in and we had a long talk about what had happened. She told me I did the right thing, but I had scared her with all the yelling. She has a lot of childhood trauma, unsurprisingly, but I reassured her that her mum wouldn't be coming back and this whole thing was over. So far, that's rung true. I suggested she give therapy a shot since her family is such a mess and she has a lot of baggage she could talk out, and she agreed, only asking if I would attend some sessions with her, which I happily agreed to. She's been to 3 sessions so far, and a 4th one with both of us, and from what I've heard they've been going very well. So that's pretty much it. Her mother has ticked off back to the hole she came from and hasn't bothered us since. I asked her to marry me last week and she said yes, so I'm looking forward to starting this new chapter in our lives. And no, her mother won't be invited to the wedding. Thank you all for your helpful comments and suggestions. They really helped me out. Alrighty folks, that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think. Good to hear that Opie stood his ground. As sad as it is, people like that truly are a lost cause. Anyway, let's jump to our next story. Okay, the next one was written on the advice subreddit, and it's titled, "My dad was drunk and my stepmom packed up and left for good. Where do I go?" I don't feel comfortable living with my dad alone. My older, stronger sibling, my guardian angel, recently moved several states away. It sounds bad, but in the event my dad got too drunk and violent, never happened until now, my stepmom was there to take the punch and at least give me time to run. Now she's gone and it's just me and my cat. I cannot be there alone, but me leaving could make him even more mad. I have 2 options: take my cat and go to my boyfriend's house with his parents' permission, or leave my cat and go to a friend's or my grandmother's house where my dad can locate me. No one knows where he is right now, but if he comes home to an empty home with all the pets and kids gone, I don't know how he'll react. It could make things worse. But if I stay home and wait for him, and I'm the only one there, I'm scared of what he could do. He's not only a pathetic drunk, he's a big, buff man. He hates my cat, so I'm scared if I leave him there, my dad can hurt him. On the other hand, my cat is very skittish. He'd hate being transported. I just need to know what I should do. I have a few hours to decide, as I'm out of town. Oh man, this sounds like a frantic situation. Let's look at the comments. Take your cat and leave. I'd be worried that something bad would happen to your cat if he or she is left there alone. I've been in one of these situations before where I had to pack everything and flee from my childhood home because of my dad. Just focus on getting to a safe, trusting place. In situations such as this, you're going to have to do what your gut says. Do what you think is best. If you go to your grandmother's house or friends, you'd risk your dad locating you, which can put you at more risk. It sounds like the safest option is to go over to your boyfriend's house with permission of his parents. My biggest concern is, how old are you to be in this situation? That could completely change the advice we could give. I say this because when you live with other people, sometimes it does not end well after some time. So if you're an adult, do not get comfortable with the idea of staying there. Also, taking the cat with you is what's best to do, but do not go back home alone. Go with your boyfriend and perhaps their parents. Also, are your boyfriend and his family already aware of your abusive father? Or how about your friend? How close are you with your friend? I ask this because if your friend and their parents are trusting, then you could be hidden. Ultimately, the only thing you can do is trust your gut in this decision. All of our perceptions are completely limited on the situation, and because of that, we are limited about the options and which would be best for you in this situation. Please take your cat with you. He'll probably kill it if you leave it. Go to your boyfriend's house and call CPS. Even if he's not abusive to the other kids now, he will be when they get older. Opie gives a quick update. I got me and my cat to my boyfriend's house. My cat, as expected, freaked out and is very upset by the forced move, but he's going to be okay. I'm waiting for my dad to realise we're gone, so I can see what his reaction is and monitor what I need to do from there. My stepmom announced she's separating her and the kids entirely from my dad. I don't know how to work up the guts to tell my dad I won't be coming home. His reaction will be visceral. My biological mum is coming to bring me money. My boyfriend's parents agreed to take me in, and there's a spare room in case this move is permanent, or at least until my boyfriend is 18. Thank you for the advice. I'll update one more time when I officially have things sorted.
Alright, let's go to that update now.
Hello everyone, this is the last update I have to share, and it's good, I swear. I've permanently left my dad's house with my cat, and we've both settled in nicely with my boyfriend and his family. I picked up all of my belongings today, and told my dad why I was leaving. He tried his hardest to guilt-trip me into staying, but I shrugged at him and left. His birthday is tomorrow, and that's when I'm returning to grab the rest of my belongings. He's completely and utterly broken. It sounds cruel, but because of him, my entire body is scarred. My mind is ruined, and my cat is traumatized. I regret not having the strength to leave sooner, but I had to wait for him to become non-violent. I hit him while he was down. I held a lot of guilt within me for that. I considered going back if he apologized or swore to change, but in the end, he didn't hug me. He didn't tell me he loved me. He didn't apologize, not even a goodbye. I actually uncovered some texts between him and my old stepmom. He explained he put her above all of his kids, and he was glad I was moving out soon so they could have their own family. Seeing that made me glad I left. Things are great over here. I have a job all lined up, and I can start recovering and building up savings for graduation next year. This community's advice helped me tremendously. I likely would have made a horrible mistake without the push from so many people. His kids have all been removed from him. I luckily didn't need to call CPS or get authorities involved. My cat is doing a good job getting used to his new environment. He's been braver than ever, and I'm so proud of him. I'll post a picture of him in the comments. Thank you all again.
Alrighty guys, a good ending for that one, which I'm glad about. When I first started reading, I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't end up like this. It's a sad situation, and unfortunately it happens all too often. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and we'll go to our next story. Okay, jumping back over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for locking my girlfriend inside for her own good? 22 male. So, my girlfriend, 21 female, has a bit of wanderlust. I'm almost positive she has some form of ADHD because she is incredibly forgetful and at times careless. She'll do things like leave her purses, books, phone, and at times keys in the car. Boil an egg on the stove and only remember once the water has completely evaporated and is burning, as well as other appliance-related problems. She always talks about how she'll get around to getting diagnosed and medicated, but never does. Apparently she's been like this her whole life. Anyways, we recently moved in together, a house that belonged to my grandmother, but we both pay utilities, tax and bills, and it's been great, honestly, except for these little problems. The major point of contention right now is how she will at times leave through the back door in the middle of the night on walks and be gone for hours. We've had disagreements about this multiple times in the past where I've told her that her walks are dangerous and make me uncomfortable. She will leave at around 1 to 2 a.m. to walk around our rural neighbourhood for hours at a time, sometimes when her phone is on low battery. I've no idea why she does this. She's told me that it's exercise and she enjoys the solitude, but it makes me uncomfortable AF. I worry about what could happen in the middle of the night with no one around, and she doesn't appreciate me coming with her too much. Worse yet, she will leave the back door unlocked because she still hasn't gotten her own set of house keys, so it's up to me to readmit my wayward girlfriend every few nights. I've decided to draw the line. I've refused to unlock the back door and had it locked from both ends, so she's forced to use the front door for her trips. Not even she would dare to leave the front door unlocked to go gallivanting into the night, so I'm good on that end. The only thing is that she got incredibly frustrated at me and called me a controlling a-hole and hasn't been talking to me. I don't think I am when she refuses to behave like a literal, sensible adult. So yeah, am I the a-hole? I find it ridiculous because she could simply go out to get her own pair of keys to thwart me, but she's the type that can't have too many errands on her mind. She will have a list of 5 and then feel overwhelmed and tap out after completing one. I love her, but she is insane. Let's check out the comments. Your girlfriend is a cat, isn't she? Edit, adding a judgment because this is a top-level comment. Not the a-hole. Cats and humans have some predilections for nocturnal prowling and shouldn't be confined, but the house and its remaining inhabitants needs to be kept safe. It's entirely feasible to enable both of these things. They've just got to compromise and communicate on issues around safety, including hers.
I would recommend a collar cam and a microchip activated cat flap. I used to go for late night walks in my early 20s around the city centre that I lived in. I would go out at midnight, 1am, 2am, have a lovely long nighttime walk, felt at peace with the world and loved the solitude. I did, however, always bring a fully charged phone from which I could easily call for help. Plus I locked my flat like a normal person. I also had an app where my family could see my location, though they lived in a different city and I didn't tell them about my nighttime strolls. Oh, and I also have ADHD. Just sharing because she could actually just be enjoying a nighttime stroll. Edit. Apparently this is now a top level comment and I'm required to make a judgment. I say no a-holes here, because your girlfriend isn't doing anything bad or wrong, and you're not actually locking her in the house if she can leave via the front door. Clearly though, both of you have things to work on. You have to recognise it's your responsibility to give her a set of keys and not her responsibility to get yours copied. Like, what the F is that? And she needs to acquiesce to some safety points to make sure you don't worry, like always having a full charge on her phone, having a rape whistle on her, or some other such compromise between you. Okay, now OP provides an edit. A lot of people are questioning why I hadn't issued her a key immediately in a landlord-esque sense. Well, she's not my tenant. It's more like she came over so much that it devolved into her living with me. She has problems with her parents, so she decided to make my place her main residence, and we've just been chilling like that. She offered to pay utilities and things, but to be honest, I wouldn't have minded either way. So finally picking up an extra set of keys was on our to-do list that she insisted she could handle. Still, I feel I was a bit jerky in how I chose to handle this. Her possible ADHD is a big issue for her, and I've employed a hands-off approach in order to leave her agency. But since it's come to this, it's obviously not working. We're definitely going to figure out other ways to work through this, including helping her make appointments and finally start the process on her diagnosis. She's also suggested sharing her location when she goes for walks and informing me before she leaves each time, looking into electronic locks, and we're going to get her copies of the keys later today. And no, she does not have a secret lover that she's hitchhiking to go rendezvous with each night. Some comments from my girlfriend. She says, "I am not a cat." Alrighty folks, that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Do you know someone like this? I can think of a couple. My son's friend's parents want to adopt him. All names have been changed to protect everyone involved. I, 24 female, am a single mum to my son, Owen, 8. It's been just us since day one. His father isn't in the picture and has been able to avoid child support for years now. Yes, I've tried everything. My own parents disowned me. I had to drop out of high school and have worked a myriad of jobs since then to keep us afloat. We aren't on the poverty line by any means, but we definitely live paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. It's not ideal, and I hope within the next couple of years we'll be someplace bigger. For now, it's our situation. I've raised Owen to know that money isn't everything. We may not have a lot. He won't always have the newest to this or that, but we have each other. The two of us are very close. He has never gone without the basics, but I admit he doesn't get a lot of fun extras. I try to save a little here and there to make birthdays and holidays fun, but it's still never anything glamorous, and I think Owen was fine with that. Until recently, anyway. In our area, all the public schools are based on the lottery system, so your child has a fair shot of going to any of them, so long as you put in their name. Our neighbourhood school is not great and in a pretty crappy area, so I decided to put him in a different one across town. It's near my job, so it works out. Last year, when he was in 2nd grade, he met Charlie. They began hanging out a lot after school, with Owen going to his place. I met Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, a couple of times before this began. They seemed very nice and supportive. Owen always had a great time at their house. Charlie occasionally came to our apartment, but usually they were at his place, which made sense. I work and there's really not much for them to do here, even when I'm off. Summer breaks are easy to find care, as there are several free or low-cost camps that I can put Owen in. It's the shorter breaks, such as Christmas and spring, that are harder. Camp space is limited. Spring break of 2022, I managed to just miss registration. Paige is a stay-at-home mum and offered to take Owen for the week. I was hesitant to ask so much of her, but she insisted. He had a really fun time with them. They did a lot of activities and Paige refused my attempts to pay her back at least some. I couldn't afford all. I admit,
I did feel a tad uncomfortable with her spending this much on my son, but at the same time, I didn't want to deprive Owen of this stuff. Summer came, and while I did get Owen into camp, he spent a ton of time with Charlie as well. He ended up going on vacation with them. I was again very hesitant, but the experience was something I could never give Owen, and it wasn't too far away. He had a blast. I kept telling Nate and Paige that there's no way I could ever pay them back, and they kept insisting that they loved having Owen around. They told me what a great kid he is, sweet, respectful. At one point I really pressed Paige as to why she was so insistent on having Owen around so much. That's when she told me that they never planned for Charlie to be an only child, but all attempts at giving him a sibling just didn't happen. They know that Owen will never make up for not having a brother, but if they can give him a consistent playmate so that he's not lonely, they'll do it. Should this have been a red flag? Maybe. But at the same time, I found it sweet that the boys considered each other brothers. I thought it was innocent. Surely Paige and Nate knew the truth, right? Right? This continued for a bit, and come Christmas break of 2022, Paige and Nate insisted that I not even bother to try to get Owen into a camp. They'd take care of him for me. I was grateful. They ended up getting him more Christmas gifts than I did. I tried to set my pride aside because it was about Owen, not me. This is still when things finally started seeming off to me. I understood a gift on his birthday, and while they didn't get him as many gifts as they got Charlie, it was a lot more than you would typically get your kid's friend. Fast forward to now. Spring break was last week, and this time, Paige and Nate didn't just offer to take care of him during the day while I worked, they asked if Owen could spend the entire week at their house. Honestly, it meant I could pick up some more shifts and save up for the bike Owen wants for his birthday, so I said yes. I went to pick him up on Saturday afternoon. The kids were playing out back, so Nate and Paige asked to talk to me. They sat me down and said they love Owen, and he's always such a joy to have. I thanked them profusely for all they'd done for him. Paige suggested that Owen stay a little longer. I pointed out Easter was Sunday plus school started up on Monday. They said they could take him to school. I felt weird and said no, it was time for Owen to come home. That's when Nate suggested that Owen stay with them long term. I could still see him, but they would take care of him. I thought they were joking and said, like what, you'd be his guardians or something? They got quiet, and the reality rushed over me. I pointed out that this wasn't a movie. They can't just get custody. They started spouting some legal stuff about how I could assign them as guardians, and they would help make this transition smooth. They told me to think about Owen and what's best for him. I told them there was no way in hell I was going to give up my son. I grabbed Owen and we left. I blocked their numbers. Owen has no clue what's going on. I'm keeping him home tomorrow and took the day off work to figure some stuff out. Legally they can't take him, but now I know what they want and I'm terrified. I don't want him going back to that school. Do we move? I'm so lost, and I feel so stupid because looking back, all the warning signs were there. I know Owen is going to be devastated losing Charlie, Paige and Nate. How am I ever going to explain it to him? Oh, that's a tricky one, isn't it, guys? To be honest, I don't blame OP for not picking up on the quote-unquote warning signs because even if there are things like that, you still don't expect someone to want you to give up your kid. Like, that's just completely ludicrous. Anyway, let's see what the comments think. It's one thing to offer support for a single parent with less means. It's another to take up guardianship of someone else's child. They're not thinking right, and Owen would always be second class to their son. They think they're doing you and Owen a favour, but they're really just buying their son a brother and playmate. It's so weird. This is a tricky and complicated moment though, because they'll have developed a strong trust with Owen, and can easily use Charlie to manipulate Owen against you. I don't know if telling Owen would be ideal. You don't want to burden kids, but leaving him in the dark also seems risky, because as a single mum, you can easily be targeted and have him turned against you. Seeking assistance from authorities like police and the school, getting advice on how best to protect and inform your son, and keeping records seems ideal. Good luck. You're a great mum and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Adding this here and hope OP sees this. I can't believe what I just read. Where the hell do they get off thinking they can adopt your son? You're a hardworking mum who gives your son a safe home, a good school, and make sure his needs are being met. You work extra shifts to make sure you can do special things like the bike for his upcoming birthday. Please contact the school first thing tomorrow. You need to speak with his teachers, the principal,
and probably the guidance counsellor. Call around to get some legal advice. You need someone in family law. Maybe they can also finally get you a CS as well. They can give you advice on what steps to take with these crazy people. Also, contact child services and let them know what's going on. Be prepared to have them tour your home, speak with your employer and with Owen. This is just to prove you are a good mum. This puts you on the offensive rather than playing defense if psycho parents, my new term going forward for Paige and Nate, try to report you for being an unfit parent. I'm sorry, this next part will be in all caps because it's important. I'm not yelling at you, just speaking with conviction in passion. You're not an unfit mum. You're a great mum. I'm not sure you can go to the police at this point. That's why you should speak with a lawyer ASAP, like in the next couple of days. Call around and see if anyone does free consults or offers payment plans or discounts. Like other people have said, save every single text from psycho parents, every voicemail, snap, email. Basically save every single communication with them, including call logs. Get a spiral notebook and write out a timeline of everything you've said here with details. Save this post, do not delete it. And add any other details or instances that may have been left out. Write about what happened before and after sorting break and the conversation with psycho parents. Take this to the lawyer and CPS and the school. Add things to it if needed as you remember more details or if anything else happens. Try to add dates and times if you know them. If not, give an approximate date or time and put in approximate next to entry. This will be very useful in the event you need to get a restraining order. My last piece of advice is to get a therapist for Owen ASAP. Meet with them by yourself first, maybe over the phone so you don't have to get a sitter, and ask them to help you explain things to Owen in a way that won't overwhelm him or give him too much information. But he needs some since really this is about him, and safety is important. Owen's doctor, CPS, Owen's school, or a lawyer may be able to help you find a child therapist, or perhaps a social worker or the school counsellor could help you explain things in an age-appropriate manner to Owen. You need to make a decision in the coming days if you're going to pull Owen out of his current school. That may not be possible until next school year though. If it's not, then you need to decide if you are okay with Owen and Charlie playing at school and still being friends. Again, get help from a professional to explain to Owen why there is change. No matter what you do, please remember the all caps above, just in case you need a reminder. You are a great mum. Good luck with everything. Please keep us updated. I hope psycho parents get a massive reality check, that you just can't take someone else's child or even do what they did to you and to Owen. Sending you big hugs. Keep being the amazing mama bear that you are. Geez, that comment covered just about everything. I feel like it maybe went a bit extreme in some cases, but I tend to agree with the general sentiment. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Alright, let's jump to the update. There's no way I can respond to everyone, so I just want to say thank you for the advice. While I understand those saying they potentially meant well and weren't trying to be offensive, it's still a risk I can't take. It's not like they offered to take him every so often. They wanted him full-time, permanently. To those who said I should just let them, please pass me whatever drugs you are on. I will never give up my son. Do we have the newest this or that? No. We have our needs met. I love my son and I'm not letting him go. As for everyone else, I took your advice and reached out to the school. I told them that Paige and Nate are no longer allowed to pick up Owen, and explained I do not feel safe with them around each other. They understood. There's not much they can do outside making sure they never pick him up. It's too late in the year to move classes, but next year, Charlie and Owen will not be in the same class. I notified the police, but again, they can't do much. We have zero in writing, and a simple request to have my child isn't really breaking any laws. Unfortunately, all I can do is hope they don't try anything. I still haven't spoken to Owen. I think it's fine if he talks to Charlie and plays with him at school, but I have to find a way to explain why they can't have play dates or sleepovers, as well as to never go anywhere near Nate and Paige. I guess that'll come in time. I'll update again if anything happens. I'm hoping this is the end. As some of Nate and Paige's defenders said, they did take my no well, so hopefully they realise how out of bounds they were and leave us alone. And now for another update. Monday night, I talked to Owen and explained that Nate and Paige were not safe. He was confused and I explained that they wanted to take him away from me. I think it spooked him as he started crying, saying he didn't want to leave me and he didn't want to see them again. I held him and assured he wasn't going anywhere. He understands he is never to go anywhere with them and that the school is taking measures to protect him. I said he could still play and talk with Charlie at school. He said he doesn't want to. I was honestly worried he'd hate me, but you all were right. Telling him the full story made him realise how serious it was. He understands the gifts and trips will stop, and says he's alright with it. Also, I wanted to address one last thing. I've gotten a few people offering me money or gifts. Please do not do that. I'm very appreciative, but that was not the purpose of this post. If you wish to do something, donate to your local shelter or other charity. Owen and I are not in need. I'd rather see it go to people who need it. I didn't see Nate or Paige at drop-off, nor have I gotten any contact. But then again, I did block them everywhere. Thank you all for your help. I'll update if anything else happens. Hopefully it won't. And now for a final update. I'm assuming something happened here. I've tried to post this update and chew off my chest, but it keeps getting auto-deleted. Since I have so many followers, I figured I'd update it here and hopefully it gets around. Well, what everyone feared would happen, did. Tuesday, he returned to school. I told him he could still talk and play with Charlie. I was hesitant to drop him off, but figured you can't live in fear. Most afternoons, my son takes the bus to a local rec centre for aftercare. I'd already told the school everything, and that Nate and Paige were not to pick Owen up. I managed to call and even made sure he got on the bus. Aftercare was also made aware of the change and pickup list. Well, a half hour later, I get a call that Paige had tried to pick up my son. The front desk refused to release him, didn't say why, just that she was no longer on the list. She wouldn't leave and the police were called. She was escorted out of the building. While she wasn't brought to jail, there is a police report and I'm using this to go to court and get an order of protection. Paige and Nate are also banned from the rec centre, so if they do show up, they'll get arrested for trespassing. The police are working on ways to protect us, and the local social services office has been made aware of the situation, so should they try to make a claim, they're aware of the situation. Alright, there you go guys, that's the end of that one. Looks like they got everything kind of sorted out there. It's great that the kid was so understanding of the situation when Opie told him the full story. I'm not really surprised either that the other parents tried to nick the kid off again. But yeah, the gall of them to, even in the first place, suggest something like that. Yeah, it's just outrageous. Anyway, let's go to our next story. Okay, our next one was posted on the Tales from the Front Desk subreddit. It was posted by user Miss CJ, and it's titled, "Someone's getting in trouble. I don't know if it's serious trouble though." This weekend has felt like a lot. We've had windstorms and lost power twice, including about 20 hours starting yesterday morning. The outage was weird and not static, like all rooms seemed to have bedroom lights, but not bathroom lights. Some had TVs, some didn't. Some had the heater and AC, some didn't. She moved who she could. While a few complained here and there and grumbled, there was one person who kicked up an actual fit. One person who decided to try all four of us that worked that 20 hours. I'm going to call him Buddy. I worked the morning shift Saturday, and the electric was out midday. This gave Buddy the chance to decide to leave because I know my supervisor would not have minded letting him cancel without charge. None of us knew how long the power would be out though, so I guess I don't blame him. He came down and I was so busy, trying to find out what auxiliary lighting was working, transferring room information to paper for the next shift, calling management, and finding my goddamn maintenance man. Where were you hiding? The power was out, man. Answer your walkie or come to the desk. I'm not even sure what he was whining about. I soothed him as best as I could, apologising for the act of God. I'll remember to fellatiate Zeus next time, just for you, buddy. And explain we don't know when the power will be back. Is there anything that might make him feel better? I can give you one of the candy bars and soda pops we keep for the super shinies if you like, type of stuff. He grumbled and walked off and my supervisor showed up soon after. The next morning I come in and my supervisor, yes, she was there the entire time through night audit, let me know lights came on at 2 a.m. And while I was there that morning before she left, we had the elevator back up and going. But she needed to brief me on things. So she gave everyone she could, sans third parties and prepaid, and, well, Buddy, about $40 off. So nearly every guest was given a $99 night, and she gave me the authority to drop it to $50, and even comp if need be. Surprisingly, not a lot of people griped and moped. Most understood and may not have been happy, but appreciated the fact that we weren't charged full price. She then told me about her and the night auditor's experience with Buddy. Buddy must not have slept much last night because Buddy called about every 3 hours to complain about something or asked about the status of electric being reinstated, and had already asked if his room would be comped. Luckily, she had the foresight to not immediately offer a comp, but what ticked her off the most was when she pulled him up the next morning and was discounting all the rates, because she saw his. Our dearest friend, Buddy, had the $40 employee rate. He's the employee in another pretty local hotel in our brand. To make matters worse, possibly for him, is that he twice asked me about the rate and I explained it wasn't going to be adjusted. The first time he even had the audacity to say really loud, "This stay was horrible and you're charging us full price?" I responded at the same volume that no one was paying the full rate for last night because he was blatantly trying to stir crap up. Only one guy grumbled in agreement, but our front desk is right next to our breakfast area that was busy. There was intent there. The second time was checkout. Again, he tried to argue with me, saying the rate he was paying was irrelevant because of how bad the stay was, and I told him how I was specifically told not to do anything with his. He tried to ask for a manager and I offered him my manager's business card because neither were there, but he promised to call back. One of my co-workers even told me he was still hanging around outside a little later and tried to be to them over a cigarette. Like, I don't know, man, pretty sure you're acting like a toddler as a guest at another hotel isn't going to work out well for you, but I don't know your boss. With that attitude, we can only hope. Geez, do people like this actually exist? Like, honestly, man, use your energy somewhere else. Somewhere more useful, perhaps. Yeah, sounds like a cheapskate too. Let's jump to the update. So, the first thing my manager did when she came in on Monday, after getting settled and such, was to contact Buddy's manager. Sometimes she's a little too nice, but she's always backed me up when I follow policy. From Buddy's manager, she discovered that Buddy had only been working there a few months, so they agreed his manager would just talk to him at that point. Well, the next day, my manager discovered a formal complaint had been submitted to corporate by him, so she called his manager back. Between the two of them, they decided to follow policy and turn Buddy in. So he's been turned into corporate for violating the policies we have surrounding employee stays. I'm glad of this. Like, there was definitely intent there when he was arguing loudly with me during breakfast, and he whined so much. Just incredible. It's very forgiving that she was willing to just let the other manager handle it, but he had to push his luck. There you go, karma hits OP, and he loses his job for it, probably. Lesson learned, hopefully, for him. Entitled parents stole my Switch and held it hostage because I wasn't visiting anymore. I'm 20 male and moved out of my parents' house at 18 because I really can't stand them. And it's for all these kinds of reasons you can guess. They were jerks, favoured my younger siblings, used me as free childcare, told me what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine and all that BS. When I left, my dad told me not to let the door hit me on my way out and don't come back. I got the smallest and cheapest apartment I could find and have worked the same full-time job for 2 years. My parents didn't even hold out a month before calling me and begging me to come back home, because without me, someone else had to watch my siblings. I refused because now I finally had time for myself. My dad eventually called me and actually demanded I move back home and pay them rent instead because family is more important than my personal independence. I said back to him that my life is important too, and for once I'm getting to live for myself. So he basically said, "Well then, let's see how long you can last without us," and we didn't talk for months. I don't know what he was hoping for. I managed well enough by myself. My family seemed to slowly accept that I wasn't going to come crawling back, and over time we seemed to mend things. I could tell they were having a hard time dealing with the fact things were on my terms and not theirs. They begged me to watch my younger siblings from time to time, even though the two that are closest to me in age are in their mid-teens now. But my parents don't want to put babysitting on them any more than they have to, which is hypocritical of them since they try to put it on me as much as possible. And yes, I've called them out on that. They responded with gaslighting and more months of silence yet again. And again, they were the ones to come crawling back to me for help. Not long ago, I bought myself a used Nintendo Switch, though could only afford one game for it at the moment, which is Mario Kart. I got it bundled with the console for a good deal. My mum came by on a Saturday and asked me to watch my two youngest siblings for a while. She basically pushed them in the door at me and ran, and I was stuck with these two rowdy kids all day in my tiny apartment. My mum didn't come back until after 9 PM, and that was because I called her and made her to come get the kids, and she really didn't like that I cut her fun time short. I said that unless she wanted to pay me, I wasn't going to be watching my siblings all day anymore. And next time I won't even open the door, and I'll call the cops if she just leaves them outside. The next morning, I realised I couldn't find my Switch anywhere, so I called my parents, and like I thought, one of my siblings took it. I said I was coming over to get it right away, but my mum said it could wait because my youngest sibling was gaming on it, and she didn't have the heart to take it away. I said it was taken without my permission, and I will be taking it back. I got on my bike and rode there ASAP, and when I arrived, my sibling was crying because the Switch's battery had gone dead, and they didn't have the charger. I told them to give it back, but my dad took it and said I can have it back when I agreed to start helping out with my siblings more. I told him if that's how he wanted to play this, I'd get the police involved, and no, I wasn't bluffing. He dug his heels in and insisted I wouldn't do it. I pulled my phone out and started dialing. My mum yelled, "Wait!" and hurriedly took my Switch back from my dad. He called her a traitor and demanded she return it to him instead of me, but she said it wasn't worth having police called on them. Before leaving, I told them if this ever happens again, I'll be calling the police first, and if they want to switch for my siblings so bad, they can get their own. My dad yelled that I can't disrespect him like that, and I countered that even though I'm an adult, he's never bothered to ever show an ounce of respect to me, and I'd had enough. Then I walked out with him yelling at me to come back and face him. Right now, it's back to silence from them. My mum texted me once begging me to still watch my siblings. I said that if she wanted me to babysit so bad, she could pay me, and I'd only take the money in advance because I'm not doing it for free anymore, especially after they stole from me and tried to keep me from returning my property. They don't own me. I'm an adult with my own place and my own life, and they can either get used to it or get lost. It's been over a week since that text convo, and none of them has of yet talked to me again, which is fine, they can deal with their own messes. Oh man, this family sounds like an absolute nightmare. Let's look at the comments. Good on you, mate. Your parents, heck, your whole family are toxic as F. Just block them on all your devices. Don't answer the door if they show up. It isn't worth the hassle. And start casually looking for a new apartment if you can. Dang, you got some steel balls on you. You stood your ground, called them out every opportunity, didn't let guilt bring you back. You have come out stronger and more independent than they could even imagine. And calling the cops? Brilliant, because they know they're in the wrong. Chef's kiss. But, how are you feeling after standing up to them now? And money in advance is a way to nip that crap in the bud. Also, make sure your mum understands you'll call authorities if she doesn't come at an expected time. Okay, let's go to Opie's next post. It's titled, I got the cops called on my mum for child abandonment, and I kicked my dad in the macaroons. Wow, I can't believe I forgot about this account for nearly a year, but I was watching Reddit videos online and randomly saw my original post, and I realised I'd totally forgotten to make an update, so I've come back to give one. There will be police and some mild brawling towards the end. Don't know if that qualifies as a trigger warning, but I just figured I'd mention it. As some know, I previously posted about my parents refusing to give back my Nintendo Switch when one of my siblings stole it, and many commenters had a lot to say about the crap my parents were doing, and to just call police or CPS if my parents ever dumped my younger siblings off at my door without asking again. Well, I waited and waited, but there was no contact between us for around 3 months since the last time my mum called, and I refused to watch my siblings without being paid. Then it finally hit. My parents called me all of a sudden wanting me to babysit, and they acted like the prior incident with the Switch never happened. I told them I was not going to babysit unless they paid me, and it'd have to be a day that I had off work. My schedule had also shifted, so I no longer had Saturdays off. I actually asked my boss for that, since Saturdays were the days they asked me to babysit the most. Plus, picking up an extra shift was better for me financially. My dad got furious as usual, and said that I needed to man up and help out. So I pointed out that he needs to stop acting like he has control over me, and technically I'm manning up for myself and my own life, like he always claimed he did at my age. Yet he always worked Saturdays, and put a ton of responsibilities on me, so he could F off as far as I was concerned. He started yelling violently into the phone and my mum took it away from him. I said I could only babysit Sundays because that's my only day off, and I would only do it if they paid me $30 and included prepackaged lunches, dinners, and snacks for my siblings, because I wasn't going to waste my money providing food for them. That's not my job. And if they took anything from me, like when my Switch was stolen last time, I would get police involved to get it back. I saved the receipt when I bought it, and documented the serial numbers so I'd have no problem proving to the police it's mine. My mum's B mode kicked in and she started swearing like a sailor that just broke a tooth at me. I let her have her rant while pretty much ignoring the phone until she realised I wasn't responding and started demanding I say something. So I said that she and Dad have my conditions. Sundays only, $30 and prepackaged food, or they could F off. There was a moment of silence on the line, and then my mum went off on me again and said that my younger siblings that are 14 and 15 had to step up to help because I wasn't helping anymore and they needed a break. I laughed and said, "Oh, Like how you guys gave me breaks? Like never? My mum tried to say that was different, and it was because I was the oldest child. I said that it wasn't different. They parentified me and I lost out on a bunch of my childhood because of it, and now I'm living my own life without them, and they're hypocrites to act like I should step up again when I'm no longer living there, and they have 2 teenagers in the house that can do everything I used to do. My mum shifted into victim mode and started saying that my teenage siblings were rebelling and not listening to them. I said their being and moaning wasn't my problem. They need to figure out alternative childcare. I'm too busy with having a life. My dad got back on the phone and started yelling at me some more. I just laughed at him and said he was blowing hot air, and that he was talking but not really saying anything. My mum took the phone back and pleaded with me one more time. I reiterated Sundays only with prepackaged food and $30, and I won't hesitate at all to call the police if any threats are made or any of my stuff gets stolen. I heard my parents start loudly yelling back and forth at each other over what to do, so I said they can just work it out and get back to me later. Then I hung up. It was right back to radio silent for a while. Then one Saturday morning, a few weeks later, I was getting ready for work when there was a sudden loud and fast knock at my door. The kind where you know they're doing it with both hands. My mum's done that for years as her knocking trademark to let me know she was there, and she knows I know the sound of it very well. And the knocking was followed by what sounded like someone loudly running down the corridor. I listened through the door and could hear my 2 youngest siblings bickering with each other and tapping on the door themselves. My mother just left them outside the door and ran. But because of all the warnings I got in my last post, I had a simple plan for this. I just opened my window, climbed out, and simply walked away. My apartment is on the ground level all the way at the end of the building, and I can climb out the window I have there easily by just pulling the screen out. I called one of my neighbours that lives a few doors down. She's a sweet old lady that likes kids, and I gave her the rundown. She's known about my situation with my narcissist parents for a while now, and called police for me to tell them that there were 2 kids left abandoned in the hall after their mother pounded on a door and took off. Suffice to say, the police came and picked up my siblings. My parents called me later and were furious. I pretended to be clueless and asked what they were so mad about. My mum fully admitted she left my 2 youngest siblings at my door for me to babysit and ran. I asked if she'd just left them there without anyone answering the door, because I was already out since I had to work Saturdays. My mum just got really quiet for a few seconds, then yelled, "How the heck was I supposed to know that?" I countered that this was all her fault, and she literally abandoned her kids at my door on the hopes that maybe I was home, on a day I'd already told her several times I worked. Like she was trying to force me to skip a shift by trying to give me no choice but to watch them. She started making excuses, but I told her what she did was inexcusable and immature. She ended up crying and I just let that go on for a while before asking if she was done yet. She went back into B mode and yelled at me the police were charging her with child abandonment. I said that wasn't really my fault since she left the kids in the hall, then said I would have called police on her as well if I was home, and she refused to come back for the kids. Because I told them before that I work Saturdays now, so I refused to be trapped into babysitting anymore. The rest of the call was some more pointless bickering on her end and didn't really go anywhere. My mum somehow ended up getting off with just a slap on the wrist and a fine because she somehow convinced the cops that she honestly thought I was home and would babysit, or so my next sibling said when he texted me. I don't know how much the fine was, but the fact she had to pay one should make her think twice about just leaving kids at my door and running off again. My dad wasn't charged as well because he was at work, and he also claimed to be unaware of her intent to leave my siblings at my door. I was told he was actually ticked at my mum for doing that. The pot and the kettle situation this was had me laughing so hard, but I guess I have to give credit to my old man, if he'd never done what my mum did. Either way, that left my mum with a police record. That's a first strike in the eyes of the law, I think. After that, things really boiled over on Thanksgiving. My parents invited me over, and I was fully expecting it to be some kind of trap, and it was. At dinner, my dad just sat at the table smoking a cigarette and acting like he was in charge. He had my mum sit me down and then said enough was enough, and he was ending this farce. He told me that I needed to move my butt back home and pay rent to help their mortgage and bills, as well as help parent my siblings because they don't have any time to themselves anymore, and the fine my mum had to pay hit their finances hard. I just said no, plain and simple, and I kept that up no matter how much he tried to order me. He ended up getting so angry that he actually attacked me, and he's not a small man. I thankfully am not either, as I'd been hitting the gym for months, and learned some amateur fighting. I had my steel-toed boots on as well, so I gave him a swift kick in the balls when he came at me, then punched him hard enough in the face that he was on the floor in an instant. He landed with quite a thud, and even threw up because of the pain while clutching his goodie bag. Then I told my parents that I had my phone recording in my pocket the whole time, and I could easily prove he attacked me first. My dad told me to get out of his house and never come back, and I obliged, but not before taking a turkey leg off the platter and riding home with it to eat. Since then, only my siblings have called or texted me. They said that I'd walked out like a boss, and there are now running jokes in their house now about Dad's poor balls. I spent Christmas with a friend's family, and I've got a standing invite to come back for other holidays. Jesus Christ, that sure escalated quickly. We went from babysitting disagreements to Opie kicking his dad in the balls. Good to hear that he's standing up for himself, though. Let's go to the next update. It's titled, "My mum was pregnant, and my parents blamed me for losing the baby." Well, now I know why my parents tried to force me to move back in on Thanksgiving. My mum was pregnant with kid number 6, and I only recently found out. To start things off with, one of my siblings found my Reddit account not too long after my last post, and they showed it to our parents, who in turn showed up at my apartment, screaming at me about how I'd set them up to get my mum arrested and made the world think they're bad parents. Well, they are. I called them out while standing in my doorway about all the crap they've done, right down to leaving my siblings at my door on a day they knew I worked. That's bad parenting any way you look at it. And it didn't really matter that I'd set them up, because I would have otherwise called the police on Mum anyway when she left the kids at my door. And in the end, it would have made no difference. My dad looked like he was ready to raise a fist to me, and I said that action alone proves me right that they're crappy parents. Then stated that if he'd tried to hit me, it'd turn out like last time, and I don't think his balls could take another hit from my boots. And yes, I was wearing them. Dad seemed to wince and clench his legs together at the thought of what I did to him last time, so he ended up leaving and dragging my mum out by the hand. And he yelled back before leaving the hallway that he expected me to pay them back for the fine they had to pay for child abandonment, since it was all my fault. I told them to F off and that I didn't owe them crap. They didn't say anything back. It was just recently that I got some very bad news. My mum had been about 6 months pregnant, and she lost the baby after a bad fall at home when she slipped on wet porch steps and landed face down in gravel. Honestly, I couldn't tell she'd been pregnant at all the time I saw her prior to that. She's a bit on the heavier side and has always been clumsy, but not fat, just enough that you really couldn't tell if she was pregnant or not. It is sad, and this was her first miscarriage, so she really wanted someone to blame, and that someone had to be me in her eyes, because I'd destroyed the family by not helping and by costing them so much money. She and Dad showed up at my apartment again with her in crutches, just to say it was all my fault she lost the baby because I refused to come home and help when they needed me. It turned into a pretty big argument where I called them out on how they were just looking for free childcare and looking to blame me for something that's not my fault. It's not my fault they got pregnant again when Mum is 44 years old, and it's not my fault it happened anyway. Blame it on the rotten old porch Dad was too cheap to ever fix or replace. Well, my father laid his hands on me again when I said that, and I got a sharp right hook from him. And then I ended up kicking his butt one more time. I'd never really stopped working out at the gym, and I'm even stronger than I was when I took him down last Thanksgiving. He didn't stand a chance. I blanked out in a rage, and ended up breaking his nose and knocking out both of his front teeth before my mum's screaming made me stop. Police were called, and I was put in cuffs while my father had to be taken to the hospital. Thankfully, the hallways in my apartment complex have CCTV, and I had my phone camera going behind me in my apartment as well that I started recording when my parents knocked. The footage easily shows that my father attacked me first, and I defended myself. I'm essentially in the clear as it was labelled self-defense, but now my parents are wanting to sue me for my dad's medical bills and the fine they had to previously pay. Dad can't go to work for some time due to the beating I gave him. He's in a neck brace with a broken nose, a black eye, 2 lost teeth, and who knows what else. His beard also had to be shaved off, which he's also very unhappy about. He was already pretty much dead to me even before this, so I guess this makes him double dead to me. And what little power he ever thought he had, as my father, is gone. I'm physically much stronger than him, and soon I'll be starting a new job that pays way better, thanks to all my hard work these past few months. And maybe with a few years of saving, I'll get a much better place to live. My eldest sibling called me to say I was their hero for beating the crap out of Dad, and that they were planning on leaving just like I did when they turned 18. But it was my next sibling after them that found my Reddit posts after hearing them on YouTube, and that led to my parents finding out because my mum heard them talking about it and made them show my post to her. They said she was enraged and started breaking things. My siblings have apologised that they let Mum and Dad find out, and that they would have never said anything if they'd known Mum was listening. Both have also said that they're happy there won't be another baby though. They're already having to do a lot of the childcare for my parents right now, and they hate it. They admitted to blaming me for leaving at first too, but they realise that when you become an adult, you deserve to take your own path. It's still up in the air whether or not my parents actually will try to sue me, but I think I can safely say that it'll be a loss for them if they do. One of my friend's uncles is a lawyer, and said he'd represent me if my parents decided to sue, and he also says that they don't have much of a case since it was self-defense. And to my parents, who will probably read this, I only have this to say: leave me the hell alone. You don't own me or my siblings, and when the time comes for them to be able to leave at 18, I'll help them get out of your house. You both have always been selfish narcissists. It's not my fault Mum lost the baby, and it's not my fault you had such a hard time without me in the house to be your free babysitter. Consider that broken nose and lost teeth as a good reason to never even touch me again. And don't forget that I've only told a fraction of the crap that went on in my life thanks to y'all here. If I wanted to, I could post story after story of the crap that went on in my childhood, but that wouldn't bring me satisfaction, so just leave me the hell alone. Now on to our last update. It's titled, I confronted my parents for the truth, and my dad confronted me with a knife. It feels gaudy to post again so soon. In my last post I mentioned my mum miscarried in her recent pregnancy after a bad fall. Something didn't smell right about the information I got after all the comments I received about it, so I decided the only way I was going to get the truth was to go straight to the horse's mouth. So I went to see my parents on Sunday. They were both home and resting. They both look like hell too. My mum, aside from needing crutches to walk more than a few feet, has a lot of marks and bandages all over her face from that fall she took. And my dad, well, just see his description after the beating I gave him in my last post to see how he looks. My parents were beyond shocked I showed up, and I demanded to know if there ever really was a baby, or if it was all just some half-assed plan to guilt me for not coming home. My dad said I have a lot of nerve showing up, and just letting myself in after what happened. But my mum broke down in sobs, and said she really had been pregnant. She lurched into the bedroom, and retrieved a small but kinda ornate-looking urn, and it had ashes inside it. I even checked to see if they looked or smelled like ashes from cigarettes or a barbecue or something, but they didn't smell anything like that. In fact, I barely smelled anything at all. I asked why they brought home the urn, claiming the ashes were in it before. I checked online and it said 7 to 10 days at least to get ashes back, and Mum was in the hospital no more than 5 days. My mum said they bought the urn online and expected to get the baby's ashes back when they went to the crematorium, and were really upset they couldn't bring the baby home yet, so they just waited until they could get the ashes a few days later, and then went out to get drunk. Mum claimed the crematorium did things a little quicker because she begged them. There was genuine tears in her eyes. I've seen her crocodile tears many times, but this didn't look like that. I got more information as to what happened about how my mum fell. She was running late to see her doctor, an OBGYN, or whatever they call them. Mum explained that she overslept while taking a nap, and was trying to hurry out to make her appointment, then slipped on a toy while trying to get down the steps. The guardrails for the porch had rotted and broken off like 2 years ago, and Dad never fixed or replaced them, so my mum had nothing to grab onto in order to stop her fall, and down she went right off the porch and landed face and then belly into the ground. She even showed me marks all over her stomach from where she landed. She told me the baby would have been another boy. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and there would have been 1 more brother. Then Mum told me that a doctor warned her against ever trying to have another baby, because her body might not be able to handle it again due to her age and prior injuries. I kinda figured that was the case after some things people messaged me about it, but it didn't make it any easier to hear in person. Finally, I asked the big question: why did she blame me? Mum started to say that day they showed up at my apartment was just really bad or something like that, but Dad finally spoke up and interrupted her. He yelled that it's because it was all my fault. If I'd done like he said and moved back home at Thanksgiving, then I would have been there to help, and now a baby is dead because of me. I yelled at him that if he'd actually bothered to fix the damn porch, then Mum might not have ever fell, and that's on him. Plus he didn't even bother to tell me my mum was pregnant back at Thanksgiving. Not that it would have changed anything. We continued yelling at each other, and rather than side with anyone, my mum just left the room crying. My dad looked like a lit match from how red he was, and he brandished his old hunting knife at me while yelling to get out of his house. As I was leaving, he said I was no longer his son. I told him that I'd not seen him as a father in years because he was always a terrible dad. But before I went out the door, I said to him that I'd be filing for a restraining order, and if he ever lays a hand on my siblings like he tried to do with me, then next time he'll lose more than a couple of teeth, and I won't hesitate to call police or CPS if he tries the same crap with my siblings as he did me. He yelled plenty of insults at me from the front door like, "You son of a bee." I said back that that was an insult on Mum, and he got red in the face again. Then I gave him a one-finger salute before riding away on my mountain bike. So yeah, I guess that's as good of an answer as I have for anyone. If this isn't the truth, then I don't know what is. But does it matter anymore? I'm filing for a restraining order as soon as I can, and I'll be looking to move apartments after I start bringing in money from my new job. I don't know if I'll feel like updating again after this. I'm just going to be depressed remembering all this, so I think I may be done here. Unless my parents decide to do something bad to my siblings. But hopefully I've gotten my point across to them. I've already beaten up Dad twice, and he still looked somewhat afraid of me while clutching that knife. It felt like he was looking at a monster. Maybe I am in his eyes. But if my being a monster to him means he never hurts my siblings, then that's fine. I'll be the monster. Sayonara, everybody. Alrighty folks, so we've made it to the end of that one. A bit of a roller coaster if you ask me. It's sad to hear about the toxicity and manipulation of families like that, but you just know it's way more common than you think. Am I the a-hole for going to my ex-daughter-in-law's wedding? I, 56 female, have 2 children, Bob, 30 male, and Alice, 27 female. This is about Bob. He used to be married to my daughter-in-law Ruth, 28 female. That is until 5 years ago Ruth discovered that Bob was cheating on her while she was pregnant with my granddaughter. I was really disappointed in my son. I taught him to be better than this. I am a single mum. My husband died years ago, and I've remarried only after my kids were in their late teens. I know for sure my late husband wouldn't approve of Bob's cheating. So, long story short, Bob, Ruth and I had a fight. I told him I was very disappointed in him. How could he do this to his own wife? Bob yelled at me and said that I'm his mother, not Ruth's, so I should be taking his side. I said no. I will not support his infidelity under any circumstances. My daughter also thinks that her brother is wrong, but she is neutral about it. Bob was mad and left the house. I only saw him at the divorce hearings. I left him messages that if he wants to talk, I would be open to talk, but he didn't respond to my messages. Ruth was an orphan. She didn't have anyone else, so she saw me as her mother. Even after the divorce, she would visit me and bring me some gifts like flowers or cookies. I never stopped her. Ruth also never stopped calling me Mum, even after her divorce. I also loved spending time with her and my granddaughter. About 3 years ago, I set up Ruth with my friend Paddy's son, John. Paddy and I have been close friends since childhood. She knew Ruth really well and loved her too. It was Paddy's idea to set her son up with my daughter-in-law. Ruth and John totally hit it off. John was also a good father figure to her daughter. Recently, John and Ruth got married. Ruth wanted me to be there to walk her down the aisle. She told me she walked down the aisle alone when she was married to my son, but now she wants me to walk her down. I was happy for it, so I said yes. The news reached to my son. He called me to again yell at me that what I'm doing is wrong. I shouldn't be talking to Ruth because she and him are divorced. He forbade me to go. I told him he was being irrational. Even if he is divorced, that doesn't mean I have to cut off Ruth. I reminded him that it was his poor choice that led him to this. I didn't listen to my son and went to the wedding anyways. My son got the news and was ticked. He kept cursing me that I'm a deadbeat mum who left her own son for a whore. He called me a hypocrite that I didn't go to his wedding. He married his mistress, but was gallivanting at Ruth's wedding. My husband is with me, but he says my son has a point, but my daughter says otherwise. Was I wrong to go to her wedding? Well, given the circumstances of the divorce, it is kind of unique for this relationship to still be going on between the mother and the ex-daughter-in-law. But given the circumstances of the daughter-in-law, the fact that she had no family, I feel like it's pretty fair that she still wants OP to be in her life and sees her as that mother figure that she never had. And to be honest, if I can see that, then the son should be able to see that as well. He's being completely unreasonable and he needs to grow up, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to go with not the a-hole. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Let's jump to a couple comments here. Your son ruined your granddaughter's family because he wanted to get his dick wet. He no longer has any leg to stand on for anything. I'm really glad you see the situation for what it is, and that you and Ruth have each other. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I can understand how not picking your child's side would make you feel like you did the wrong thing. Your son sounds like a spoiled brat who is missing out on his child's life. Be there for your granddaughter and her mother. Also, put some distance between you and your son until he stops verbally abusing you. You're doing the right thing. Your son doesn't want to feel like he's in the wrong and will not change till he can accept that truth about himself and want to change. Good luck, OP. Okay, so in this next post, OP goes into more details on what happened between her son and Ruth. It was written on the Regretful Parents subreddit, and it's titled, Where Did I Go Wrong? I have a son, Bob. Along with him I have a daughter. My husband died when my daughter was only 5 years old. The death of their father came as a shock to Bob. I tried my best to comfort him. I took him to a therapist and trauma experts. They all said he is a good boy and very well behaved. The only father figure Bob had was his uncle, my brother. He was a nice man as well, a man with discipline. Ever since my kids were little, I tried my best to be a good parent. I stopped dating for a long time so that I can focus on my kids. I gave them important lessons in life. I even told them about their dad. My late husband was a man of dignity and morals. He is the type of person who wouldn't sacrifice his morals to please people around him. I always tried to be both parents, but I guess I wasn't enough. My son started dating my daughter-in-law, Ruth, when he was 20. They met at a restaurant where Ruth was a part-time worker. I liked Ruth. She was well-mannered and had a good heart. I told my son he picked the right woman for him. Bob was head over heels for her. They got married 2 years after dating. Ruth finished her degree early and got a job as a teacher at the age of 22. I noticed that my son didn't like it. He would complain about Ruth's odd hours, which I think was irrational because she was a kindergarten teacher. I explained this to my son that Ruth has her own life, a life outside his own. I told him if he had concerns about her time, he should take it up to her. He said he understood. Things were really calm for a year. A year later they started having another fight. Ruth said that she wanted to pursue her master's. She is still young and wanted to do something meaningful with her degree. Honestly, I was in support. Ruth was a prodigy, but my son objected. He thought that it was a bad idea and that it would cause trouble. Now I don't like to mix in their lives. I tried to stay away from their conflict. That is until one day, Ruth came to me and said Bob threatened to leave her if she ever tried to pursue a master's degree. I did give my son an earful. And honestly, I took it as an offense because I worked jobs to support my family. I worked hard and now I have my own business. It's just so disappointing to me that my son had such backward thinking. A few weeks later, Ruth came to me and said she was pregnant. She forgot all about her masters. I tried to be there for her as much as possible. Later, Ruth discovered my son was cheating on her with a mutual friend of theirs. Ruth was devastated. I called a family meeting. There, Ruth was crying and told Bob how could he do this to her. Bob said things like, Ruth doesn't love him. She doesn't make him feel special. Her friend always fulfills his needs and understands him better. He realized he was wasting his 20s by playing family with a woman who always fights him. I asked what were the fights, and what did Ruth do to make him so angry? He said, her whole existence just bothers me. She cares more about her higher education than me. If she was a good wife, she would be a housewife rather than going out. I reminded him that I also had higher educations. He said that's different. They argued a lot. My son just called her a whore and a bee the whole time. Moreover, he is an absent father to his own daughter. He pays child support, but barely makes time for his daughter. He went low contact when I stood my ground and told him I will not support his infidelity at any cost. I met his mistress because he insisted I give her a chance and told me that after meeting her, I would change my mind about Ruth. But he was wrong. His mistress was not a nice person. My gut was telling me she was not good-hearted either. She made an odd comment that she was saving my son from a potential bad marriage and I should be happy for him. I told him I will not be at his wedding if he marries the woman who wrecked his home. I know my son is more to blame, but she knew Ruth and Bob. She knew they were married. Recently, Ruth got married to John, my friend's son. Ruth asked me to walk her down the aisle. It reached my son's ears and he called me all sorts of vile names. He forbade me to go to her wedding and called me a hypocrite because I didn't come to his wedding, but I was just going to Ruth's. I just told him to calm down and talk to me when he is not acting like a baby. I just feel like a failure, like I failed my late husband too. My late husband would be disappointed in my son as well. I don't know where I went wrong. I tried my best to provide. Maybe not having a father made him like this. I sometimes now regret having him as my son, but I still love him. But I don't love the man he turned out to be. I guess being a single mum was a curse after all. Yeah, I don't think there's really any way to kind of narrow it down to where you go wrong in things like that. Like sometimes a child can seemingly have the best upbringing and have everything they need to, nourish in life, and they'll still make irrational decisions. That's just being human, I think. We still have primal instincts almost that kind of go against the grain of what society wants us to do. That's not me trying to justify anything, but that's just how the world works sometimes. Anyway, let's jump to our next update. Okay, back on the original post. First of all, thank you for your comments. Although I got some hate comments calling me a bad mum and a failure, it was nice to see people supported me. It gave me strength to know I was not making a bad decision. So now onto the update. My son emailed me and said he wants to talk to me. I thought I should have a long conversation with him, but I made some ground rules. He is not allowed to criticise or call anyone any names like the last time, and will be civil when I'm talking. He agreed. He came to my house yesterday during noon. My husband was off to work, and my daughter was in her room. He sat down, and there were moments of awkward silence. He asked me how I was, and we had small talk. I asked him about his wife, and that's when he started to cry. Not ugly crying, just a few tears. I can tell he is not doing well. I sat beside him and told him he can tell me. He tells me everything. He tells me that he is sorry for how he reacted. He understands why I might be ashamed of him. He later tells me his marriage is not going well, that his wife is no way near as good as Ruth was. Ruth took care of all his needs and loved him, yet he treated Ruth like trash. He is constantly fighting with his new wife. He knew he effed up a lot. He learned that the last time he visited his daughter, and she kept referring to John as her dad. Bob tried to make her say the word dad, and she screamed at him by saying, "You are not my dad." He saw how much happy Ruth was with another man, and he realized what he had lost. I asked him, "Would you have missed Ruth if your wife did those same things for you like Ruth did?" He was silent. I further told him it seems to me like he only kept Ruth in his life because he used her to fulfill his needs. I explained to him about my relationship with his father. We were with each other not because I fulfilled his needs. We were with each other because we loved each other, and that love didn't stop when one person was at the most vulnerable and weak. But he, my son, left Ruth when she was vulnerable and needed him the most. His needs were fulfilled when Ruth was just a housewife working a small job, but as soon as she has no need, he discarded her. It really hit him hard as he was sobbing. He said that he knows he was a crappy person, but he was manipulated by that bee. He said that about his wife. To be honest, I lost my cool and yelled. He should stop blaming other people for his mistake. It was his decision to cheat. It was his decision to leave Ruth. It was his decision to abandon his daughter. He cannot run away from his responsibilities and wonder why nobody is taking his side. Moreover, he hasn't learned anything from his mistakes because he is still calling his wife vile names. This is the same girl she claimed is better than Ruth. He had a choice not to cheat. He could have pushed her away when she tried to seduce him, but he didn't, because in his mind he made this fantasy that Ruth doesn't care about him because all she ever wanted was to complete her education. I raised him better than this. He's not just insulting my upbringing, he is also insulting his own father, and he will only see suffering in his life unless he takes full accountability of his actions. He told me he knows I was disappointed at him, and he wants to make things right. He is trapped in a bad marriage because God is punishing him for how he treated his daughter and ex-wife. I told him if he wants to be a good man, he should start by apologizing to Ruth and become cordial with his daughter. I also gave him a reality check that his daughter already sees John as her dad. So I have doubts she would start calling him dad anytime soon, but he should at least try. I told him to apologize to his sister as well. If he is really miserable in his marriage, he should get a divorce or try counseling. Whatever decision he makes, I will support him, but that does not mean I will forgive his wife because she has also done Ruth wrong. Unless she makes an apology to Ruth, I don't think I can see her as a decent person. Lastly, I told him that even though I'm very much disappointed in him, I still love him. I will always guide him to what is right. He will always be my son. But this is his chance to be a better man. I believe in second chances. This time, I hope he cleans up his act. I'm proud of him that he acknowledges his wrongdoings. Well, the first step towards being a better person, I think, is acknowledging the past, and it seems like the son is kind of on his way to doing that, although not quite there yet, as he's still, like Opie said, calling his wife vile names and, pushing blame onto other people. So yeah, it seems like he still has a bit of growing up to do, but something like regret makes you learn way quicker than anything else, I find. Okay, we're going to jump to a post Opie made on the marriage subreddit. It's a little bit different, but it's still related to this situation. It's titled, "I feel like I'm cheating on my now husband with my dead husband. This is my throwaway. I will delete it soon. It's been 22 years since my husband died in an accident. I remember in his last moments, he was doing fine. He was too weak to speak, but still managed to say that he loves me and he loves his kids. Me and my late husband have this thing where we would write a letter to each other once a year, and it has to be handwritten. In his last letter, he mentioned death. He said if death comes, then I should remember that he loves me with all his heart, and he doesn't have any regrets. I guess he somehow knew this would be his last letter. I still have that letter. I still have a place for him in my heart. He was not just my husband, he is also the father of my kids. How can I forget him just like that? I didn't date for a long time, mainly because I focused on raising my 2 kids, but also because I couldn't find anyone even comparable to my husband. I met my now husband when my daughter was 15. My son was also 18 and in college. He is sweet, kind, gentle and funny. He always has this positive outlook on life. After a long time I had this butterfly in my stomach kind of feeling. I fell in love with him. We got married after dating for 4 years. My husband is also a widower. He also has kids who are a little bit older than my kids and left the nest early. I have built a second home with my husband. I am happy. I love this man, and I want nothing more to enjoy his company as much as I can. But lately, I've been going through some personal stuff with my son. It made me miss my late husband even more. His stuff is still in my basement. I couldn't have the heart to throw it all out. I still have his camera, his pocket watch, the Rubik's Cube he liked to solve, his books, and most importantly, his letters. I miss him so much, but sometimes I feel like I'm doing unfair to my husband. He's such a good man. I feel like I'm cheating on him. I know it's not possible, but still I try my best to not think about him. But I do. It's hard not to. Am I cheating? Is this normal? I don't want to keep my husband in the dark. I care about him. I respect him. He doesn't deserve a wife who cheats. I mean, as far as the traditional understanding of cheating goes, this is definitely not it. But emotionally, maybe you could feel guilty about it. Let's check out the comments. You're not cheating. I would probably talk to your husband. He's a widow too, so is more likely to understand. He might be experiencing similar things. You never fell out of love with your first husband. Your heart just grew so you could love your second husband as well. You're probably thinking about him more because you're trying not to think about him. Have you considered therapy or a bereavement support group? I don't have first-hand experience with that, but here's my 2 cents. Do you feel like your current husband has forgotten his first wife and mother of his older kids? Do you think he's cheating on you with the memory of her? I highly doubt that you do. Do you think your first husband would begrudge your moving on and loving your current husband? Or would he want you to have a good life, even if he couldn't be in it for as long as he wanted? In my opinion, part of the challenge in relationships with widows and widowers is that by the nature of it, you have to share the person with the memory of their previous spouse. Odds are he sometimes feels the same way you do about his first wife. I'm sure he's talked with you about his wife and you about your husband. Do you think they would have been friends? Like if you and your husband would have had the occasion to be friends with him and his wife, would you have all gotten along? In my opinion, you should talk to him about how you feel. I bet he's felt the same way and can heal together. Yeah, I don't have any experience with that sort of thing, but that seems like good advice to me. Just talk about it. Okay, let's jump to our final update on the original post. Hello folks. Thanks for showing me a lot of love and support. I'm really overwhelmed with it. It has been a month since my last post. Things are fine now. I'll be giving updates from the marriage post too. Well, first of all, my daughter moved out from my house. She was living with us along with her fiancé to save money to buy their own place. I'm happy for her. The house just feels empty without her, but I'll get over it. About my post on the marriage subreddit, I talked to my husband about my feelings towards my late husband. He was surprisingly fine. He told me he understands that I miss him. Sometimes he misses his dead wife too. He still keeps a picture of her with him. I don't mind it. He further told me that the pain we both went through is something no one would understand, and he doesn't feel like I'm betraying him by missing my dead husband. He was my family, and it's normal to miss family. I'm glad I had this talk with him. I fell in love with him even more. Ruth and John are doing fine. She announced that they are expecting a child together, and Ruth asked me to be the godmother. I'm really overwhelmed and happy for them, though I still don't know whether I should be her kid's godmother or not. Now on to my son. He has decided to separate from his wife. I guess his marriage has problems, and he's trying to sort it out on his own. He is in therapy. I support him in his journey. Things between my granddaughter and him are still a bit sour, but I'm helping as a middleman. He talked to Ruth about change in custody, but she said no, because given how he's treated her in the past couple of years, she doesn't trust him. I know Bob is sad, but I assured him he shouldn't give up now. He should still fulfill his duty as a dad. He meets my granddaughter at my house. Right now they're playing snakes and ladders in the living room. My son has been really trying to be a better version of himself, and I support that. I hope in future things will improve for him. Thank you so much for helping a mother out there. I know if I ever have any issues I cannot solve, I can always count on the kind people of Reddit. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Perhaps you've been in a similar situation. Let me know. All in all, a pretty happy ending. Bob still has a little bit of learning to do, however, and let's hope he can get through it. It seems like he is somewhat dedicated to turning his life around and being there for his kid. And good to hear that Opie had that conversation with her husband about her feelings towards her ex-husband. Much better to talk about it than to bottle it up and ultimately feel guilty for a long period of time. Girlfriend's childhood friend is showering her with expensive gifts to repay her former kindness. These gifts are making girlfriend and me uncomfortable. How do we respond? Throwaway, because I don't need people finding my main. The main people are Liz, 28 female, my girlfriend, Jay, 28 male, my girlfriend's childhood friend, and me, 29 male. This might be a bit on the longer side, but I think it would be helpful to give you all the background so you understand our current issue. Liza and Jay grew up in the same neighbourhood, just a few houses down from each other. They were best friends in elementary school and then drifted apart a bit in middle school. During high school, Jay's parents went through a really nasty divorce. I'm not really clear on all the details, but I know that Jay's dad moved out and Jay and his mum were really struggling financially. Liz's parents are about as kind, generous and warm people you'll ever meet, and they took care of Jay. He would often have dinner with them, do family stuff with them, crash at Liz's place. Over this time, Liz and Jay became best friends again, and stayed that way until college. Jay ended up getting a major scholarship to a really good school out west, and left for school, while Liz stayed close to home. Over the years, they followed each other on socials, but had little other contact. I met Liz a little over 3 years ago as part of a social league for volleyball in our city. By luck of the draw, we were placed on the same team. We met each other at the welcome event and really hit it off. She is kind, gracious, smart, witty, beautiful, fun, and is just the right amount competitive. She's the kind of girl that guys meet and fall in love with. And I guess I'm one of those guys, but somehow she also liked me. A year after meeting, we were moving in together and talking about the future. By no means is our relationship a fairy tale romance, but we have weathered our fair share of storms and have what I believe to be a healthy relationship with a good sex life, strong communication and shared goals and values. We've talked marriage, kids, all of it. Here's where Jay comes back into the story. A few years back, Jay started a tech company with a friend. Their company grew rapidly and were bought out by a major player in the tech world. Jay moved back to our city this year. On Labor Day, we went to a party at a friend of Liz's from high school. Jay was also there. It was the first time that Liz had seen him in probably 4 or 5 years, so the two spent a lot of the party catching up. I'm not originally from the area, so many of Liz's friends have become my friends, so I was hanging out and let them catch up. On the way home from the party, Liz said that Jay had invited us over to his new house and that we needed to find a date. A few weeks later, we headed over to Jay's house. From the moment he opened the door to greet us, Jay was weird to me. I think he didn't realise that I was coming too. Maybe that Liz was coming by herself. Almost the whole day, Jay spoke only to Liz. When Liz would try to include me in the conversation or talk about me, Jay seemed to change the subject to reminisce about old stories. It was very strange and was just kind of exhausting. Eventually, I went inside to the kitchen to get a drink and chatted with Jay's chef. He has a private chef to make his food. The chef was cool and confirmed that he had been told it was Jay plus one guest for dinner. Liz and I tried to chalk that whole day up to a misunderstanding, that maybe he just wanted to continue catching up, but there have been plenty of awkward things since then. For example, when at Jay's, Liz saw a Le Creuset Dutch oven and said something about always wanting one, but not being able to justify the cost. Well, what shows up on our doorstep a few days later? The same exact Le Creuset. She one time mentioned that she really likes a very expensive classic lounge chair, but it's almost $4,000. It showed up at our place the next week. She said something the next day when we saw Jay, but he gave this weird smile and said multiple times that he didn't know what she was talking about. Jay is building a new company that creates tech for the hospitality industry. For this reason, he has connections with restaurants and breweries all over the city. In the fall, he invited Liz to a special dinner at a chef's table that is inside of the kitchen at one of the nicest restaurants in the city. Jay knows the chef, so they would get the royal treatment. When Liz asked if I could come as well, he told her that the table only seats two. Liz and I talked it out for a while, and in the end decided that she would go without me, and she reported back that it felt like two friends having dinner together. I was talking about the whole thing with a co-worker, who told me she had also done the chef's table, and the table seats four. At the beginning of December, Jay invited her to a special event at a local museum. One of the major museums in our city hosts a special Christmas party that you have to be invited to, and is really exclusive. Think knockoff version of the Met Gala without the celebrities and holiday themed. Jay got 2 tickets and invited Liz. She's wanted to go for ages and never thought it was possible, so again, we talked it out and decided she would take him up on the offer. Again, she says he acted like a friend, but in hindsight, it feels weird that he keeps inviting her to stuff like this. As I'm writing this out, I already feel like people are getting ready to tell me that she's cheating on me, or that I'm a pushover for letting Liz go to one-on-one things with Jay. But one, we don't have the kind of relationship where I wouldn't let her do something she wanted. And 2, she is super honest with me. She's also a terrible liar. She has the easiest tells in the world. She's too moral and good-natured to keep a bad secret. That's why I believe her when she's assured me time and time again that Jay is very much in the friend zone. She's not interested. She believes that he is lonely and wants to return to being best friends. My worry is that Liz naturally sees the best in people. For example, if someone cuts her off in traffic, her natural response is that they must be in some kind of emergency situation. She genuinely trusts people, cares for people, and wants the best for them. I, on the other hand, am a natural skeptic. I tend to think that people are just out for themselves. I find her optimism really beautiful, but struggle to see the world in the same way. The long and short of it is that we both feel uncomfortable with the gifts and fancy dinners that he keeps getting her, but when she's brought it up to him, he says he is paying her back for taking him in high school. He asked her to keep letting him do things for her, because he feels like he needs to return the many favours her family did for him. Finally, this week, our friends got together for an annual Christmas party. It's been a tradition at that party to do a white elephant gift exchange. It's always weird stuff or funny items. Jay showed up with a second gift that he was cagey about all night. Someone thought it was part of the gift exchange, and he kind of freaked out a bit. Near the end of the night, he pulled Liz aside and gave her this second gift. Inside was a designer handbag and a super expensive pair of designer heels. She felt very uncomfortable accepting them, and in the awkwardness of the situation, just said thanks. Then we left soon after. Now, 2 days later, Liz has decided she wants to return the gifts to Jay and tell him they are too much. I think she said they were almost $2,000 combined. I think we need to tell Jay to back off as well, but Liz is saying that I'm being overly harsh. What I'm asking is, am I being too harsh in telling a guy to back off who is trying to repay a former kindness? If I'm not out of line telling him to back off, how can we ask him to stop with the gifts without destroying the friendship? Let's have a look at the comments. Liz might not feel romantic feelings, but honestly it sounds like this dude is trying to use his money and whatever connections he has to woo her. I think Liz needs to really be honest with herself about her expectations in regards to this friendship. When exactly did she start feeling uncomfortable? because it seems from day one he has been treating her like he would a girlfriend or wife, and she kept accepting his offers. For the sake of mixed signals, she needs firm boundaries. There is a difference between being kind and being a doormat and saying yes to someone because you might feel sorry for them. It's never a good thing either. Why does she want this friendship? What does she get out of it? How does it enrich her life, and by extension yours? Although it is clear he is not interested in getting to know you and becoming friends. If she sets a boundary of no more gifts or fancy stuff without you, and he decides to end the friendship, what's the worst that will happen? You'll have your clear answer with how this reaction will be. He is using old teenager stuff to manipulate. That's my take on this. Because if he really cared about what she wanted, he would have already stopped with the gifts and the dates, because she may not see it as a date, but he sure as hell is. I don't think Jay is just repaying her kindness. I think he's trying to buy her affection, and the special dinners and events sound more like dates to me than two friends going to dinner. That being said, you should not be the one to confront Jay. That has to come from Liz. You and Liz need to talk about what you're both comfortable with in her friendship with Jay. That could be limiting gifts, value or frequency, not inviting only Liz to special events, and making more plans that include all three of you. Once you and Liz are on the same page, she has to have a serious conversation with Jay about boundaries and limiting the gifts. Then she needs to hold firm. I think it's pretty clear that Liz wants Jay as a friend and is trying to be nice, but if she's feeling uncomfortable with all the gifts and gestures, she needs to speak up and tell Jay to cut way back. And yes, she should return the expensive shoes and handbag. Alrighty guys, let's jump to the update to this story. I've had a bunch of DMs asking for an update on this situation. Honestly, the whole thing got really weird and confusing. I was trying to wait until things became more clear and we had answers to what happened, but I'm not sure that will ever happen. After posting, Liz told me that she had decided to give back Jay's expensive Christmas gifts. She waited until he posted on Instagram about being out at an event at a local bar for a night, then drove over to his house with a friend, and they left the gifts by the front door with a note that said, paraphrased, Jay, thank you so much for thinking of me this Christmas. While all the gifts you've been giving me are generous, I feel bad taking them. It was my parents who took you in back when we were in school. I was just excited to live with my friend. They are the ones who took care of you. If you feel the need to give back, my parents have always supported this local charity. I'm sure they would be happy to know you gave the amounts of these gifts in their honour. She hoped this would end things and he'd get the picture. I was doubtful. Around 2 a.m. that night, presumably when he got home and saw the returned gifts, he started bombarding her with text messages. They were all some combination of 1. He was such a good friend and she was lucky to have him. 2. He was going to give her the gifts back because it was false modesty that she was showing in not accepting them. And 3. She should always expect gifts from him and that he would always protect her and be her hero. It was really weird and creepy. We were already asleep and the messages came in so quickly and repeatedly that it woke us up. We agreed to try to go back to sleep and deal with it all in the morning. Luckily, we were leaving early the next morning to see my family for the holidays. On the way there, we worked together to craft a final message to Jay. Liz told him in the text that it seems like he wants a deeper relationship than she does, that she was happy in her relationship with me, and that she was blocking him to give him time to sort out his feelings for her. 30 minutes after that, we got a notification from our doorbell. I'll give you a guess who it was. He came back a few hours later to bring the gifts back, then came back again in the next morning, and then again that evening. Friends started saying that Jay had reached out to ask where Liz was, saying that he was afraid for her safety. Luckily, we didn't tell that many people about our trip, and those who knew also knew about Liz blocking Jay and all stonewalled him. Still, saying it was a stressful situation is a major understatement. Honestly, the stress of it ruined our New Year's. While in my hometown, we visited my cousin whose husband is a lawyer. We asked about protective orders. He told us that, unfortunately for our state, there have to be threats of harm or proof that he was stalking Liz. He told us that Jay's actions to that point were not extreme enough, but he encouraged us to save our video doorbell feed and to keep a record of every interaction in case things escalated. My parents let us stay in my hometown a few extra days before going home, but eventually we had to head back for a work event that Liz had to go to. We were pretty nervous the first few days at home, and I installed 2 extra cameras outside our home with a wider view range than the doorbell could offer. Luckily, we didn't hear anything from Jay. After not hearing anything from or about him for about 2 weeks, we couldn't tell if we had gotten lucky or if something else was going on. While our closest friends knew what was going on and had all blocked Jay when Liz had, we had some friends of friends that Liz knew and was still close to him. We had a close friend reach out to one of Jay's friends. This guy said that no one had heard or seen from Jay in about 3 weeks. He had missed 2 parties he said he'd be at and hadn't posted on socials for a while. Jay was the kind of guy who would post on Insta 3 to 4 times a week. I should have left the whole thing go there, but my curiosity got the better of me. I reached out to a friend in the middle of February who works in the restaurant industry. I knew that they'd been in conversations with Jay's new company about becoming a client. This friend told me that they hadn't heard from Jay in over a month, but that there was a rumour going around that Jay's business partner, and I guess the whole new business, was tied to some sketchy stuff, and a lot of the restaurants he knew of had gotten cold feet. No one had heard from Jay in a while, and this friend had not seen him at a recent industry event. This caused one of our friends and me to go into detective mode. Back when Jay had first moved back to the area, a bunch of us were invited over to a party at his house, which was a huge mansion in a super wealthy area. Liz and I were having a hard time remembering, but feel like he was telling people he'd just bought it. Last week, the friend who I've been doing detective-y stuff with found that house on a website full of luxury homes for long-term rental. We checked on Zillow, and the house was last sold almost a decade ago, so we don't think that he bought it and rented it out. We looked up a news report for when his company sold, and we don't see his name anywhere in the article. That being said, the only person it named was the CFO, so maybe he was an owner? We can't figure it out. So that's it. We don't have many answers for what happened to Jay. We can't figure out if he was just a sketchy guy whose new company had closed, or if he was some kind of scam artist. Part of me thinks that he got a payday and is probably living in Costa Rica or something, but I wouldn't be surprised if he'd been telling stories the entire time. Maybe he only owned a few shares in the company, so he had a bit of cash but conflated his role in his bank account. I don't think we'll ever have answers. On the plus side, it seems like he is out of our lives, and while we are continuing to keep an eye out, we are hoping we don't ever have to see him again. Alrighty, so that's the end of that one. What did you think? Seems like, honestly, that was about as good an outcome as you could probably expect. Like him kind of disappearing out of your lives with not too much fuss in between. But yeah, he was pretty obviously infatuated with OP's girlfriend, but it seems like he got to a point where he got over it to some degree and moved on, I guess. Anyway, let me know what you guys reckon about this one in the comments. Would you have done the same thing? Would you have given him as much leeway as OP did? Honestly, I probably wouldn't have. Like, you never want to be controlling and like stop your girlfriend from seeing people or going out and stuff like that, but this guy seemed like bad news from day one, to be honest. Anyway, that's enough of that one. Let's move on to the next story. Okay, our next story was posted on the True Off My Chest subreddit. It was posted by user We Need Empathy, and it's titled, "My kitten suddenly began being overly affectionate towards my senior cat, and I'm heartbroken." Short vent. I have a senior cat who is 15 and a half years old, and a kitten who is not quite 11 months old. They are both void boys and look identical to one another. They, along with my husband, son and pup, are my whole world. My kitten is a jerk. He's still figuring out boundaries with my senior cat. I have to supervise most of their time together because kitten can get a little too rough. The only time where I feel comfortable leaving them alone is when they're sleeping together or eating together. Those are the only times kitten is 100% chill. For context, I'm a stay-at-home mother, so I'm almost always home. My senior cat is pretty good at standing up for himself, but sometimes I'll have to intervene. Though it's not nearly as bad as it used to be, kitten's jerkery is still an everyday occurrence, and he'll push everyone's boundaries if you let him. Well, until today. My senior cat has been having some health issues. We're taking him to the vet next week because of said issues, but today is the first day where my heart broke for him. He's been puking a lot, and today was no different. Except for our kitten, began being overly affectionate towards him, rubbing himself all over him, purring, offering his body as support as my senior cat heaved. I felt so helpless in that moment, just staring as the kitten comforted our senior cat. Kitten not being a jerk and being so sweet kind of just solidified things in my head like, yeah, my senior cat isn't going to be here much longer. And man, I can't stop crying. Sorry if this is difficult to read and or all over the place. I'm still processing what I saw. Oh man, doesn't sound very good for the senior cat. But it's nice that it seems as though the kitten has kind of opened up a bit and is being more affectionate, even if it's in a time like this. I mean, I've never had a cat, so I don't know kind of what they do when they get older. Is puking kind of a normal thing when they're on the way out? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's jump to the update. Wholesome update for all of those who were concerned over my senior boy. He's fine. The reason why he's been throwing up so much? He's been eating the dog's food. I don't know why I didn't think of that or how I haven't caught him in the act yet, but yep, he eats dog food and then it makes his tummy sick. The dog's food is now closed off in a different room so the kitty can't get to it. He's doing so much better already since getting home. He had to get his anal glands expressed. That's about the only thing he really needed. I'm glad he's fine, but the hole in my pocket stings a little bit, lol. Oh well, I'd give my arm and leg to know my babies are okay. I have a cute video of my senior cat, Bing at me, if anyone is interested. I'm still trying to figure out how to upload it online to share with you all. Oh, there you go folks. All in all, a happy ending. Didn't really expect that going by the first post we read. Also, 15.5 years, that's pretty old, right? I don't know, how long do cats live? I know for a dog, that's getting on. But I think I remember reading somewhere that the oldest living cat is 30 years old or something crazy like that, so I guess they can live a lot longer than dogs can. Anyway, I'm sure someone in the comments probably knows more about cats than me. I'm not exactly an expert. Am I the a-hole for looking into professional babysitter for my child? I have a daughter who is roughly 1 year old. Her name is Alison. Her dad and I both work full-time jobs, where I work between 35 to 40 hours a week, and he works anywhere between 40 to 45 hours. We both work mornings. My friends Tom, 23 male, and Skylar, 24 female, had volunteered to watch Alison for us as Tom worked from home, and Alison isn't known to cry very often. At first, it was going great. Tom would have Alison in a separate and baby-proof fed room where she could play with her toys while he worked. Then Skylar would take over when she came home. We offered pay many times, but they kept refusing, and Skylar would ask us to bring Alison over if it had been a while since we asked her to help with babysitting. Finally, we agreed to them having Alison 3 days a week, but they made us promise to stop offering to pay them. It was great for a while, it really worked out. But then Alison started coming home with rashes from stale diapers. She'd been extremely fussy and hungry by the time we got home. We would talk to Tom and Skylar about this, and request they were more observant of her diapers at the very least. Her thrashing and screaming because diaper ointment hurt broke my heart every time, especially since I knew it was avoidable. They'd say yes, but after a while would go back. They've recently started lying to get out of their arrangement, claiming to be out of town for the week, then Snapchat us them being at home with their birds, claim they were sick but our mutual friends would still be hanging out, and claiming they wouldn't be at home all week for work when Tom works strictly from home. His job doesn't even have a main office. Without them knowing, we registered Alison with a professional daycare service. I drop her off in the morning and her dad picks her up. Word got to Skylar and Tom, and now they're blowing up our phones, calling us evil, shifty, and rude for not telling them that they wouldn't have Alison anymore, and claiming I betrayed their trust by not talking to them about my concerns. Am I the a-hole for finding a daycare for Alison? Opie elaborates more on the comments. When asked why they would offer to watch Alison for free, they had said it was because Alison was a joy to be around, and that they had no problem doing a favour for their friends. They said accepting payment just felt wrong for something they volunteered and wanted to do. When asked about Alison being kept in a separate room all day, we were under the impression that Tom would be interacting with her semi-frequently. He told us that his job is extremely slow-paced, and in the 4 hours he would be working while looking after her, he would have a 1-hour lunch and a 15-minute break, plus the ability to be with her until he heard a notification from his computer. More info in the comments. As for the visits, we haven't seen them in 3 weeks, so they haven't been around Alison, and I don't see that changing. I just have this sick feeling in my gut, and I don't know if it's guilt or instinct. We've been talking about possible overnights once a week due to the late pickup and early drop-off times, 6 AM to 8 PM due to our work schedules and drives, and I'm just glad I'd never agreed to it. My husband and I are going to be calling Alison's paediatrician tomorrow morning. I
I have this sick feeling, and with every traumatic diaper change it gets worse. I'm praying that everyone's dark thoughts are wrong, but I can't shake this feeling. Our paediatrician is available for an emergency appointment with us today, thankfully. We're in the waiting room now. If Alison's paediatrician wasn't available, we would have gone straight to an urgent care nearby. Let's see what the comments think. Not the a-hole. And am I the only one to smell a rat here? They refused payment, odd for so much time dedicated, and you know that they at least neglected your child's health and needs whilst in their care, which is enough reason to stop them from looking after her. I'm concerned that they've been so upset about professional daycare. OP, I'd be keeping an extra close eye, and only supervised visits if any at all from here on in. Something doesn't seem right to me. Not the a-hole. My mind went to a very dark place, because people don't do things that are labour intensive for free. Hopefully your kid hasn't been harmed, or on the internet somewhere on the dark web. Not the a-hole. And you should have found a daycare for her the second you realised she wasn't being changed or fed. I'm curious why they weren't charging or accepting money though. Now OP provides a quick edit. I'm not ready to go into too much detail yet, but we have been advised by Alison's paediatrician to launch an investigation against Tom and Skylar for what I thought was a diaper rash. It was apparently burns, which would explain how it appeared in the course of one day as badly as it had, and why it didn't seem to be healing. Alison is not going into her daycare tomorrow. She will not be leaving my side. My boss is offering me the ability to stay home with her during the course of everything. If a further update is requested at a later time, I will, but I can't for right now. I don't have the mental capacity. Thank you for everyone for assuring me I did the right thing and advising medical counsel. I feel like a horrible mum for not doing so sooner, but we'll put that aside for now to care for my daughter. Oh man, yeah, it was definitely not the a-hole from the beginning, but now that they've said that update, geez, I'm scared for the kid now. Let's jump to the next update. I want to start by saying thank you so very much for everyone's kind words and advice. It's been an insane week since I posted here, and I have no idea how it would be if I hadn't followed the advice of everybody here. As I had updated on my previous post, I followed the advice of the comments and took Alison to her paediatrician for an emergency appointment. I had thought it was a bad diaper rash she had come home with 4 weeks ago, and last week learned it was chemical burns. Following that update, both my paediatrician and all of you pushed for me to get the police involved. I didn't have to be asked twice. Tom and Skylar are being investigated by the police for what they did to Alison. I don't know a lot yet, but I was told that Tom and Skylar would in no way win the case. Tom was apparently unemployed the whole time, and his quote-unquote job was maintaining a website he and Skylar made, documenting what they were doing with Alison and 2 other children. The website has been taken down already, and the other parents are being investigated as well, due to evidence of consent. A detective also informed me that Tom and Skylar had admitted guilt to their actions. I haven't been told what the actions were, but my husband knows, and he said that Tom and Skylar were lucky the police found them first. They have provided the items in which were used. I was told the burns likely came from a lubricant that Tom and Skylar used. I didn't ask why they had it, and I'm praying it was intended as a deceased substitute. Probably naive of me. Alison is still home with me, and my husband and I are looking into a multitude of therapy options. We are also looking into moving back to where our families are, or my brother moving in with us to help us ground ourselves to reality again. My mother-in-law has already booked a hotel nearby and is with us every day to help us make sure Alison knows she is safe and loved. I wish you could talk and understand that we won't let anything happen to her again, but for now I will settle with holding her when she needs me and rubbing her back when she goes to sleep. Life will not be the same moving forward for a while, and I know that. I'm just beyond thankful that I posted, and everybody here was able to point out the red flags and concerns, so that I could make the right choice for my daughter. I was blinded by 15 years of friendship, and couldn't fathom that they had intentionally hurt my baby girl. I see that now, and will forever carry that with me, as it was a failure on my part to protect my daughter. The rose-coloured glasses are off now. Thank you to everybody here for helping me and my family. Oh man, this story just makes my skin crawl. You just really don't want to think about what happened to that baby and what potentially could have kept happening. The only plus side here is that it's stopped now. Let's jump to our last update. It's been a long time since I've even thought of Reddit, I'll admit, but I logged on today and saw a slew of messages from people. People asking how I was doing, how Alison was doing. It's a lot. I also had some notifications of Reddit giving me numbers for a crisis line, which shows that even some more silent people were concerned. I appreciate every single one of you that all messaged me. For everyone wondering, Alison is doing better. Her therapy, 3 visits a week for now, is working well for her. She looks forward to her therapist showing up, and they get along very well. Because of her age, they're doing play therapy. I'm not a doctor, so it doesn't make sense to me, but my little girl is acting like herself again. Diaper changes are still a struggle, but our pediatrician is helping us try for an early potty training so that Alison doesn't have to re-experience her trauma. We're not successful yet on that, but it's too soon to tell, I think. My husband and I are going to therapy as well. A lot of guilt in not seeing the signs that our therapist claims is misplaced. I'm not 100% sold on that idea yet, but again, therapy probably takes a while. I still feel like I should have known, and that I failed my kiddo, but I'm working on it. Tom and Skylar have their sentencing next week. My lawyer is saying they'll likely be put away for a long time, that Alison will likely have graduated college before they're out. The longer they're put away and suffering for what they did to my daughter and those other 2 kids, the happier I am. We've already moved to a new city. We wanted to move out of state, but Alison loves her therapist, so we moved as far away as we could, while still being able to have the same therapist come for Alison. Coincidentally, closer to where the therapist lives, so she doesn't have to drive as far. I don't think I'll update again, but I just wanted to let you all know we're going to be okay. Alison is already showing improvement, and my husband and I are working on it. A couple of people have said that I should have known better, or that I was awful for accepting my ex-friends' offer in the first place, and I agree, but I'm not going to let it rule my life. What happened, happened. I can't change that. I did fail my daughter there, but I've learned and will be making everything as good as I can for her. I don't think I'll be posting again, so I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you to everyone here on Reddit. You were all helpful and encouraging. I am beyond thankful for all the kind words and support I got here on Reddit. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. To be honest, I don't even want to think about it too much. It's quite depressing, but it's good to hear that the family's on the right track now. Okay, let's jump to our next story. So this one was posted on the Off My Chest subreddit. It was written by user NoSandwich19, and it's titled, I'm falling in love with my roommate. I've been living with my roommate for almost a year, and I'm so in love with her. We knew each other in high school, but weren't really friends. She stayed back home for college while I went to a school on the other side of the state, then found a job I like in the same city. She moved to my city to start a new job, and I offered her my other room since I needed a roommate. Since she moved in, we've become incredibly close friends. We instantly connected and started confiding in each other. We know almost everything about each other, and we both have trust in the other person. She is so clean and organized and never makes a mess. She is really into fitness and got me into Pilates. She checks in on me and even makes me dinner sometimes. She is an amazing cook, and I'll eat anything she makes. My favorite time with her is when we are cooking and I say something that makes her laugh. She has the nicest smile in the world, and I can listen to her talk for hours. She is so beautiful. When we hang out or meet up with friends, she is always the life of the party. She is just a good, honest person. I thought she was good looking in high school, but being her roommate is making me fall in love with her. She isn't doing me any favors either. I keep trying to suppress my feelings, but she does something that reels me in further. She always complains about being touch-starved and asks me to hold her. She loves it when I play with her hair. There's been heavy rain where I live for the past couple of months, and when there is thunder and lightning, she'll come to my room and ask if she could stay with me until the thunder goes away. She's not afraid of thunder, so I sometimes wonder if she's doing it on purpose. Today I woke up late, so I ran out the door without making my bed. When I came home from work, I noticed my bed was made and my room was clean. I asked my roommate if she made my bed, and she said yes, and mentioned that she noticed that I've been a little on edge for the past 2 weeks, so she made some spaghetti for me. Spaghetti is my favorite food, and it might have been the reason why I started spilling my heart out to her. I did not outright say I have feelings for her, but the way I was talking, I might as well have told her. She understood where I'm coming from, and I'm the only person who makes her feel safe. She then walked past me to her room, and I felt her touch my hand. I think I'm going to tell her how I feel. I want to be her boyfriend so bad. I can't keep those feelings in longer. I might explode. I absolutely suck at picking up signs, but even I can tell she feels something towards me. I really don't want to lose her as a friend or a roommate, but I need to do this. Yes, go for it, King. She's giving you all the signs. It's pretty obvious that you're both into each other. I'd just say to be careful, because you're already living with each other. It can get difficult if something happens and you're still in the living arrangement together. It's kind of like fast-tracking your relationship into already living together, which is something most relationships don't do until, a good year or so in, I'd say. Anyway, let's look at the comments. It sounds like she's giving you all the signs that she's interested too. Prepare yourself emotionally, but I think it's worth having an open conversation about it. Ask her if you're misreading anything. She made your bed, cooks for you, and wants you to hold her, and makes excuses to come to your room during thunderstorms. If she's not also falling in love with you, I'd admit I don't know anything about anything. Communication is everything, and it seems that time. Wishing you all the best. I'm a girl, and I wouldn't want someone from the opposite sex to hold me when I'm afraid, if I'm not into him. I have a good feeling she's into you too, but also I might be wrong. Keep us updated if you talk to her. My guy, I'm fairly certain she feels the same way. Don't get me wrong, I'd be just like you in your position, but from the outside it definitely looks like she's into you. Alrighty, let's jump straight to the update. On Monday, we were watching the Warriors and Kings game. She isn't into sports, but I got her hooked on the Warriors and the 49ers. She sat down on the couch next to me and rested her head on my shoulder a couple minutes later. She said she had a long day at work and she was exhausted. I placed my head on top of her head and she wrapped her arm around mine. We stayed like that until Draymond Green was ejected in the fourth quarter. After the game, said she was tired and was going to bed. But I stopped her and said I needed to tell her something. She sat down on the couch and I told her how much I love having her as a roommate. She's a beautiful person who is making me a better person every day, and I'm so glad to have her in my life. I said I like her and asked her if she wanted to go on a date with me. She took a second and said yes and gave me a hug. She told me how much she enjoys being around me and how my positive attitude is rubbing off on her. She feels comfortable around me, which is not something she can say about a lot of people. She knows I will not judge her for being herself, but will also be upfront with her, which is something she needs to keep her in check. She said she's been waiting for 2 months for me to ask her out, and she was afraid I was never going to do it. Yesterday we went on the date, and she had a great time. I took her mini-golfing, then we got a pizza and went back to our apartment, and talked until 2 a.m. I really like her. She wants to take me out on a date before we officially become boyfriend and girlfriend, and I can't wait. Oh wow, so there you go guys, a good ending for that one. Glad to see that Opie built up his courage and asked her out finally. Now, this is a message to all of you out there who need the confidence to do so. Do it. Ask them out. Tell them that Connor, the guy that reads Reddit stories, told you to. Or don't, whatever. Alright, let's jump to our last story for today. This one was posted on the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was written by user Am I the A-hole Undie, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to continue doing my laundry if she wants me to buy groceries? My girlfriend, 28 female, and I, 32 male, have been living together for 4 years now. She works from home since COVID most of the time, but sometimes does go into the office. I go to my office every day. My girlfriend has always done our laundry together and never had a problem with it for all these years. Since she works from home, she takes care of a lot of the housework, but I do help out, where I can, when I get back from work. Although she often refuses my offers with reasons like, I should wash my hands better. I do wash my hands though. Lately, she has started separating my undergarments and vests from the laundry pile and not washing them when she had no trouble doing that in the past. She said that my undergarments will contaminate her clothes and wants me to do them myself in a separate load, yet she still washes her in the same load. I suggested we do all our undergarments in a different load, and she said no because hers are cleaner and that would be worse. She got pretty mad and made some nasty comments about my hygiene, saying I should keep myself cleaner in my privates, not soil myself, I don't, and learn how to wash my hands. I do shower and I do wash my hands, but maybe it's natural that men smell more, I don't know. I'm getting pretty annoyed at being treated like I'm disgusting when I'm not. I lived with my mum before her who did my laundry and never said my boxes were dirty. I said if she keeps doing this, I will stop buying the groceries she keeps telling me to bring on my commute from work, and she can do that herself. To be honest, for Opie's girlfriend to do that, it sounds like he's a bit more unhygienic than he's leading on to be. I reckon old mate's got mad skid marks in his undies. Let's see what the comments think. I lived with my mum before she did my laundry. I'm hairy there and have streaks in my underwear. You're the a-hole. I literally can't believe I found a real-life men don't watch their butt but want their girlfriend to be their mummy meme right in front of my eyes. At 32 years old, every part of your relationship should not be transactional. For that, you're the a-hole. Grow up. You're the a-hole. Come on. If your crusty underwear is dirty enough to contaminate the outerwear, then you have a problem. Book a doctor's appointment to make sure you don't have some random infection, but most likely, it's a poor hygiene issue. Your girlfriend is probably sick of getting a UTI every time she has sex with you. Your mum not saying anything is meaningless in this context. I bet she didn't say anything about your nappies as a baby or your bed sheets and special sock when you hit puberty either. Yeah, I think Opie maybe needs to invest in a bidet or something. Get a bit cleaner down there. Let's go to the update. I would like to thank everyone for giving me a much needed reality check. I spent some time doing research and you guys and my girlfriend were right, and I was definitely lazy, depressed, and neglecting my hygiene in my relationship. It brings me to tears when I think about what it must have been like for my girlfriend. I sat down with my girlfriend and talked to her about it and said that I felt like I needed therapy. We got a brilliant therapist and had some sessions alone and some time together and worked through our issues. I hadn't realised it, but in addition to my hygiene, she was also overworked with doing house chores and finding it hard to balance work and housework. My girlfriend agreed to help me clean up and trim my body hair one last time, and after that we bought some new shaving equipment, and I've since started making sure I don't go back to my old ways. I also started going to the gym to do a little cardio and weights, nothing too extreme. I also got myself a lot of new clothes as a treat, and changed my style a bit, including shaving off my beard, which my girlfriend always wanted me to do. I feel like a new person, and I'm a lot happier and energetic, although sometimes it's a bit weird around my friends and co-workers, and I feel like it is awkward being the new me, and like I lost my identity, but I've gotten used to it now. My girlfriend is so much happier, and has a spark to her eyes, and I feel like our relationship has been rekindled. Tomorrow is our last therapy session. I've also started cooking more and trying new recipes on weekends, and she loves it. I've signed up for some cooking classes as I discovered I really like cooking. I still feel really awful for what I did to her, and I can't believe how long she put up with it. She said she was very close to ending it. I feel like I truly don't deserve her. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Have you been in a similar situation perhaps? Either way, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.